So, with the end of the Hydra, the demon Rodinator being like released from the Pythonese house, effectively sort of understanding that whatever the Night of Dissolution is, you guys have sort of stepped into it. You were sort of called out by the Rodinator before, having been told like your destiny, part of it pushing you forward in the Pythonese house was almost as allies. Your very presence was the coming of the Night of Dissolution. And this thing seemed to awkwardly help you. You guys basically walked into sort of a trap that you released this Hydra from beneath. You walk out of there with weapons that Calrescent kind of condemns you for even using. You might be kind of coming to recognize that perhaps the fact that this thing lets you in there was not necessarily a good thing, and that truly it was doing it purely for the creation, the birth of the Night of Dissolution. And with the crumbling of the walls of the Pythonese house, you all saw when the Hydra died, it fled. It was no longer stuck within that house and seems to be released upon the city of Tolus. You guys would have your libations with both the inverted pyramid and the Knights of the Pale, and having that moment of a new thing in the very presence of the Church of Lothian, something that has not happened perhaps ever. That celebration comes to an end. You've got a few weeks of downtime. That doesn't mean that you don't have things that you're actively doing, but I want to kind of ask, like, of the things, are you, and this is going to be individual, it is not necessarily that you have to do it as a group, we'll bring you back in as a group, for today, what you guys are doing on this Saturday, September 10th, or Sunday, September 10th in the world. But during this upcoming month, are you spending most of your time trying to shore up the defenses for the incoming barbarian assault on the city? Are you spending your time searching after information of the Vladam family? Are you trying to research the Bane Warrens? It can be a lot of different things, not necessarily specifically, what I bring up there, but I would say the barbarian assault is more and more eminent every single day that goes by. On some level, you expected it at the same time that the Hydra rose, but choices were kind of put before you, and you sort of understood from Javica that choices could change things as well. But the barbarians, the House of Latham is ahead of you. What sort of things are high priorities for you? Were you to search for Neferndel the next day and find that she's missing, and the next day, and the day after? Would she become a priority? But do one of you have an idea of what your highest priority is during this time that has kind of gone by? What you would be spending most of that time doing?
Well, I know Jinx would definitely be looking for Neferndale. Feel some responsibility, whatever happened to her, or if she's just mad again. But I'll figure out what it is. So I think I would start off like with that as my top priority.
Yeah, and I think Dalton would be willing to help Jinx if he needed it, or in this, otherwise, like once Jinx, if he finds a lead, then Dalton can go kind of help him track it down. But he, kind of aside from that, Dalton's probably main focus would be trying to find some more information on the on House Vladam. Um, Specifically, maybe trying to see like if the brothers, because they seem to be, I think, from at least from what we've heard, maybe the potentially the weak link. Like if they have regular haunts, if they're known to um, go to particular places, things like that. He would be trying to find out kind of information on them.
Which is higher priority though? When you find Neferndel is indeed missing, does that mean you're going to drop your search after House Flatham?
Yeah, I think he'd want to help Jinx out, trying to find her. So uh, yeah, I think he would probably similarly focus on finding Neferndel as top priority. Yep.
And then how about for Gale? What is your priority as this time goes by?
I think Gail's priority would be a bit of a shopping spree, to be honest. Danberries, possibly. Try to get up like spell components and things like that. I think after that, he was like second top priority would probably be, yeah, like trying to get investigations going for the Bane Wars.
Are you actually looking for anything rare spell component wise? What kind of components are you looking for?
Oh, it's nothing too rare. It's just like for identify and thing. So like a pearl worth 100 gold, and I think what's the spell called? Oh, and like for continual flames, like ruby dust for 50 gold. It's more like it's more that a bit pricey. I think that it's rare.
Yeah, I don't think either of those are going to pose any sort of problem for you. That's pretty easy to pick up. So you said your priority would be researching the Bane Warrens?
Yeah, so if it, I think that would be his like priority. And I think like if it matters, like he would probably start with the Devil's Guild's library, trying to get information from there, and failing that, all up some from the inverted pyramid.
Alrighty. Let me have Jinx and Dalton roll charismas with your proficiency. Just like your best charisma.
This would be a 17 if we can use expertise.
Yeah, that's fine. What was that with expertise?
It would be the same for persuasion or deception.
And mine's
And then how
15.
about and what was yours for?
It's same thing, persuasion or deception. So like I'll do one and you do the other or whatever if it matters.
Oh yeah, no worries. Alrighty. So while you all are searching for Nephi, you're basically kind of like coming to the understanding that apparently she sort of left of her own free will, and she went searching after a particular individual. After quite some time, you guys start to hear some of the contacts that you both talk to and nudge into helping you just as much as other contacts that you speak to and sort of pose as the underbelly of the city and kind of like sneak your way into them talking to you, effectively using both of those skills of being persuasive when that is best to be truthful and being a little bit more deceptive when it is best, so people don't get kind of defensive. And you guys find yourselves kind of having these conversations, but more and more you start to hear about this particular doctor that she is searching after. A doctor who is new to the city, and somebody who you really only hear occasionally people calling Surgeon in the Shadows. And part of what you kind of come to recognize is it would appear that she is searching after this person who is doing uh, chaos tech surgeries. If you have enough money, you can come to him and you can have him replace what you would like replaced with some sort of chaos tech to make yourself better, stronger, faster, many things. And she appears to be searching after this person, and at some point appears to have sort of gone missing. Uh, do, 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 do. And when, yeah, yeah, so I think it's probably about like nowish that you guys not only understand and hear kind of this last moment of that she's gone missing as she went searching for the surgeon in the shadows, but you would have the name of sort of her last contact, somebody who kind of came to her with some information that she was searching for, and that person is looking for their last name. I feel like I'm missing it. Lavis. Lavis Fallomeyer seems to be the last person she spoke to, and was a person who seems to have been basically trying to find her a way to contact this surgeon in the shadows. Gail, let me have you do a Arcana for me, please.
Yeah, that's a 60.
So I think you guys have already had some pretty successful searches of what the Bane Warrens are as far as the Delvers Guild goes. Um, so I think that is going to kind of limit what you're able to find kind of from there. Um, and on some level, I'll kind of put forth to you what you do find from the inverted pyramid is largely like along the same lines. You guys understand that the spire itself sort of is the true Bane Warrens, where at some point, I think his name is Dan. Yeah, I think the inverted pyramid might be one of the few places old enough to recognize that Danar Rotenson once sealed basically all of the evil that he could find beneath the city of Tolis. And he was basically hiding it around near some of the old cities that used to exist there. And much of what he was attempting to do was, along with his wife Parnaith, seal away the dangers, the most evil things in the world, out of reach of the Galchut, which are effectively dark powers. And he would do this for most of his life before the spire blasted up into the sky and his temple, his like cathedral, was sent up with it. Sometime after, the spire would be claimed by the dark power Eslathagos Malkith. And there is no easy way to assume that you could write that down. I think that is probably plenty of information at present for you to take away with that understanding. But with picking up that name, you now understand one of the first Dark Lords to take control of the Spire. That is basically the entire like namesake of the city of Toldus. In those readings, though, you will find nothing that speaks of basically like um the fall of Danar. Like his cathedral is sent up into the sky with the creation of the spire, and then it basically starts to talk about Eslagoth Malkith like controlling the spire and the Dark Lord basically reigning in the sort of first like assaults of darkness on the light of the world. So with that, you guys have a little bit to kind of think about there, but that should bring us back to basically this Sunday, kind of you all coming together, whether you want to meet up at the Goblin House or whether you are meeting up in the Dover Square. You guys can, start to discuss with those priorities behind you what you all intend to do at present.
Do we have a last known location for this Lavis Falmeyer? Or do we know a way that we can try to get in touch with them?
You guys had a 16 and a 17. I feel like you could say Lavis and Neff were meeting at Danbury's. So you at least have a lead that you could search after Lavis by like going to see the proprietor of Danbury.
Gotcha. Yeah. So maybe, and if this Lavis is supposedly, someone who was maybe going to be able to get Neff Rendell in touch with this surgeon, I guess another option would be to maybe try to um, drop some rumors that we were looking for, possible chaos tech enhancements, and then, maybe Lavis would get in touch with us, or but maybe just going to Danbury's and kind of asking more directly would be quicker. And it's been a few weeks now that we've been kind of hunting down this lead anyway.
What did Jinx and Gale think of that?
Yeah, that sounds good to me. I'm definitely about like the Neffy situation, especially because time could be of the essence.
Yeah, I feel like Gail would also find that. Like,
Yeah, and if the barbarian horde is imminent, I imagine it'll become much tougher to try to find her during all that chaos. So
So you think it is likely that you all are meeting up at the Goblin Hide?
Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, go ahead. My bad.
well, if we're going to go to Danbury's, maybe it would make sense for us to. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter, but we could always uh, leave a note for essentially have say Gail, leave a note for Gail to meet us at Delver Square. I think Danbury, that's where Danbury's is, right?
It is indeed, yes.
So maybe we've been we could even be like waiting for him at the Ghostly Minstrel, and um, kind of strategizing, and then have tell Gale to like when he can take a break from his research, meet us there, and then we can go to Danbury's kind of as a group.
Let me have you all roll a d4.
3.
Yeah, a 3 from me as well.
And a 4 for me.
Excellent. Let me have everyone roll a perception check. Crushing it, digits.
Yeah, 7 total. I like to keep my rolls low.
Like I feel like you rolled higher with the D4.
11 total for Gale.
And I have expertise in perception now, so that would actually be a 29.
Stupid high. So while you are kind of waiting ahead of the other two at the ghostly minstrel, you start to notice Dalton occasionally as you kind of like just sort of looking out of the windows. Again, these aren't like glass like we know it. This is one of those phases where like glass exists and there are like ways that you're like seeing through it, but it's very much kind of like distortive. Sometimes there's like a wave in the glass that just makes everything kind of like almost like opaque, kind of fuzzy. It's definitely not seeing through things sort of typically. So the first thing that you notice is just kind of feeling like you spot like these glowing like red eyes like on the other side of the pane of glass, and it draws your attention, but you look up and it must have just been corner of your eyes, little bit of paranoia, and nothing was there. But you pay a bit more attention to it. And minutes later, you once again spot something. And then you like stand up and you go and like look outside. And there's nobody outside. There's people moving around Delver Square as there are, but there's nobody like near this window. You spend a little bit more time kind of paying attention to it, like glancing out of the corner of your eye without looking. You start to notice there is indeed something watching you from the other side of the window. You start to make out the little bit of shadows of an impish little figure, and you're starting to kind of recognize that there's something tailing you here. It has fiendish qualities. And with everything going on, you probably have some sort of a tail that is watching you. But while the others start to arrive around when you first kind of figure this out, I'll leave it up to you to discuss with them what you're going to do about it. But at very least, Dalton, you understand there seems to be some sort of small fiend watching you. And it seems capable of kind of hiding itself when it needs to, but is otherwise kind of watching through this glass window at the front of the ghostly minstrel.
Gotcha. Yeah. So Dalton is probably going to, at least until the others show up. Well, he's been going out to look, but so he's, yeah. But when the others get there, he's going to um, let them know that he thinks something has been tailing them. Kind of describe what he thinks he's seen. It hasn't, hasn't made contact. It seems to be pretty good at getting out of sight when it wants to. Um, Not sure who it might be serving, but just be on our guard. I don't know how we might track it down if we wanted to confront it, but definitely being watched.
This might sound like a stupid question, but do we speak imp? Like, let's just say we were to catch it and it was to cooperate. Could we interrogate it? Do they speak common?
I believe Dalton had one of the language spells prepared last session. I don't think Bard switch it out, so I feel like you have it. I don't remember whether it was tongues or one of the ones where it was just reading, but I felt like you were trying to eavesdrop on the Pack Lords of Quan.
Yes, I do have tongues now, so I could make it so that at least one of us would have the ability to, if we catch it and we can't communicate it with it immediately. I could make it so that at least one of us would be able to talk to it.
And when you say imp, I just naturally gravitate towards wings. Was that the case?
I would say this is more like he's kind of seeing something that is more bat-like in like its head, and that's part of why I would say impish. I don't think there's any reason for Dalton to really understand this creature's anatomy more than that he was seeing fiendish shadows in like kind of sharp definition to its face. You know what I mean? Almost like triangular, sharp edges instead of like curvy, smooth skin. I don't know. Does that kind of make sense?
Oh yeah, yeah, I get it. I mean, something like kind of like unnatural, like a little bit like kind of evil
Yeah.
towards it with the
I
shadows and
don't think
stuff.
there's any reason that you shouldn't assume that it can fly because again, it is like already sort of an impish quality. And quite honestly, a lot of fiends have wings. And for instance, most of the humans that you've seen that their flesh becomes perverted by fiendish qualities, most of those humans also sprout wings. So there's that too.
It wouldn't surprise me, but I didn't get a close enough look at it, so I couldn't say for sure. At this point, there's no shortage of people or things that could have put it on our tail, I imagine.
Well, we could try to sneak up on it, see if we get the jump on him. We've got enough magic and other things that hopefully we could stop it from fleeing and possibly communicate what its intent is. Who knows? Maybe it'll lead us to Nephi.
Does that kind of sound like your plan to step out and provoke it?
I was thinking maybe maybe have Dalton step out and kind of pretend to start leaving, and then have Gale and Jinx wait behind a bit and see if they can catch sight of it starting to see if it starts to follow one of us. Like, don't want to actually split up, but kind of make it seem like that maybe. And maybe they can catch sight of it, and then we can kind of confront it then.
Well, wouldn't it be better to have the one who is much better at spotting things staying around to see if it's try to spot it then? I mean, no offense against Yings, but I'm not usually the one to spot things that are trying to hide.
I wonder if we could sort of do what Dalton said, but with a twist, sort of like a distraction type play. If one or two of us was just standing out front and then one was to disappear from sight, maybe that's you, Dalton. You could possibly sneak around and, kind of stir this thing out. We could get like a little ambush on it. I mean, it's going to be watching us, but if we split up, it's going to be difficult for it to watch all of us at once. And I mean, the area we could stay within earshot or sight, not like split up, but enough that we could maybe confuse it, get the jump on it.
Uh, just there's a thought. I just had. You said you noticed it like before we got here. Uh, how about I and Jinx go to Danbury's, and if you see if it starts following us or if it stays looking at you, so maybe it's not looking for all of us. It's just looking for one of us.
That could work. I could hang back a bit and see if I can see if your heading over there draws it out. We could combine that with Jinx's idea, and perhaps I could disappear as I hang back. It might give me a jump on it if it does start following you.
That idea. How about you, Jinx?
Sounds good to me. I mean, if there's one thing I've learned about this group, it's no matter how much we plan anything, it's not going to survive reality. So I think as long as we've got an idea and then we just kind of play it by ear.
So your intention here is for Dalton's just going to turn invisible. Jinx and Gale are going to walk across the street to Danbury's.
Yeah, Dalton's going to try and obviously keep an eye and see if it starts following them as they head out.
Gotcha. There are people like in the ghostly minstrel. Are you just going to turn invisible in front of everyone? Like one moment you're there, one moment you're gone?
It's probably not the best idea.
It's not supremely busy. It is early in the morning. But there's definitely not the same like prohibition against like drinking at any given time. Like people are in an ale house at all times.
I mean, I could run cover for you, Dalton. We could go relieve ourselves. 2 men enter, 1 man leaves, or so it would appear. I mean, you could go by yourself if you wanted to, but it might look strange seeing the door just suddenly open.
What do you guys think?
Is there any sort of uh, like side room or out of the way place within? Let's see. Um,
I feel like
I could maybe.
walking into the kitchen would be the like easiest way for you to simply disappear for a few moments. But it is kind of more suspicious because you don't really belong in the kitchen. Walking upstairs into like where like the rooms are is a good way to kind of disappear from sight for a moment. But there's no way of necessarily predicting like, when you round a corner that there's not somebody leaving their room coming downstairs.
Yeah, I was almost thinking like if Jinx and I start heading up the stairs, and then while we're on the stairs, if we um, get to where at some point we don't see anyone immediately coming up or following up behind us or coming down from the other end. That's when we try and kind of you know turn me invisible, and then you know Jinx and I return back downstairs, and then if anybody is thinking it, they'll just think, oh, Dalton went up, and he's upstairs now, and maybe Jinx is coming back down for something. Might be our best option.
And you have invisibility prepared?
Jinx, I guess, would assume is. I think he's the one who has invisibility.
Oh yeah, I've got invisibility. Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay. You were gonna cast it on him. I got you. But it is invisibility, not greater. So
No,
yeah,
it's just
let me. What was that?
it's just the regular invisibility.
Gotcha. Let me have you roll a perception check.
Is this for me?
Yes, for Jinx.
Another stellar roll for a total of 7.
Gotcha. Oh, my bad. I should have given you advantage. You do have Dalton there with you. So do one more. Even better.
Call it an 8.
So yeah, like you've got one of you kind of like looking up the stairs, one of you like looking down the stairs. And like the moment Jinx starts to incant, it's got verbal, somatic, and material components. So the moment he starts to like do the actual like words of it and starts to kind of prepare like the actual like finger motions, um Jinx, you see as somebody like kind of rounds the edge and starts to walk up the stairs in front of you. They don't see what you're doing. They don't see Dalton disappear, but you are like tapping Dalton with this little eyelash right as he disappears and right as this person kind of rounds.
I think Dalton is going to try to essentially like just press himself against the side of the stairs. He doesn't want this guy bumping into him. And he's hoping.
Just do a dexterity saving throw with advantage. Solid.
13.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly fine for you to be able to like get small in the corner.
And do you want a stealth check to see how quietly I can do that?
No worries there. This isn't somebody who's like suspicious or anything. It's just somebody going about their day.
And I'll run like a little bit of like interference so that Dalton could get out of there too. So I'll
Gotcha.
like
You
pull
were
out
just
my
like kind of
just sort of like pull out my little like cigarette case and pull out a cigarette and kind of like do the little pat down. I don't suppose you got a lot there, do you, fella? And I'll like kind of like try to lead him away from where Dalton path would be.
Gotcha. Okay. So Dalton, you're kind of like tucked into the corner as like Jinx kind of like pulls this person sort of towards like the central like banister, like the smallest like internal arc of like walking around the stairs to the next like staircase up, you know? So he like goes to the inside corner. You're on the outside edge. You can start walking down as Jinx gets a light from this person. Jinx, you can kind of like decide, "Oh, well, I don't need to go to my room if I've got my cigarette here lit. And you can, walk back down the stairs as well. So the two of you are walking back down. You could go back and grab Gail at the table. What is your next thought? You have Dalton invisible and Jinx and Gale back together.
Well, if we're all settled up, Gail, how about we step outside and cross the street?
All right, let's get going then.
And a little slow at first, just to make sure that Dalton has time to get into position where he could see.
Yeah, I think Dalton will kind of like go to just like lightly tap Jinx on the shoulder just to let him know he's still around, and he'll try to like kind of very quietly tell him like I'll follow you two out, um, take up a post outside.
So you like
Sorry, I
go
didn't
ahead there,
catch.
Jinx.
Oh, I was just gonna say, so we'll just kind of like step outside and take our time, kind of crossing the street. Be like Jinx would be talking a little bit like louder, like unnecessarily, conversating, just to make sure that we kind of get this person's attention. Hopefully.
Gotcha. And Dalton is following with you. So perhaps like Dalton's kind of just like one hand on your shoulder as you guys like step out of the ghostly minstrel. Jinx like, looks back and like talks to the hostess for a second. Again, keeping the door open so an invisible person walking through it doesn't seem a little extra sketchy as like you have a door being held by somebody who's not there. But you kind of like take this time, take a little bit more time to walk through the door, head through the door, speaking kind of loudly as you're leaving, being boisterous to that hostess, kind of making your way through the streets. Let me get a perception from you here, Dalton.
That'll be a 26. I'm still using the proficiency die, but if we're just going back to the normal like bonus, it would be a 20.
Oh, it's up to you guys whether you throw those proficiency dice or not. If you like them, you're welcome to. I don't think it changes enough to really be all that interesting. I like throwing a lot of dice, so I kind of understand it. But yeah, after like playing with them, it's just one of those things where most of the time I feel like this game is perfectly satisfactory with roll a d20 and we'll interpret it from there. And that's mostly because like a lot of times it's it's pretty simple to know like if you roll over a 10, this is going to be a success. If you roll over a 17, this really difficult thing is going to be a success. I think a lot of times there's just extra numbers that cloud things up.
Yeah, and I found sometimes when I roll the proficiency die, I then forget about the stat bonus, like the charisma
Right.
plus whatever. So maybe I'll go back and It'd just be easier to just use the the d20 and then the normal proficiency bonus.
That feels like almost part of it as well, for sure. Is like, oh, +5 plus my proficiency die versus just doing a +8. It's just one of those things where it's just, um, I don't know. I feel like the numbers just get to be like, sometimes I just want to know what you roll because it's not that big of a deal, like how huge it is. It's just like, hey, don't roll a 1 or a 2, and then it doesn't really matter what else you roll.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, I like the the potential additional swinginess, but
That's the problem with even like rolling for hit dice. The more you roll, the more it averages out. And the more you average everything out, like it just feels like you save like those tiny little moments averaging things. Switched off onto the wrong one there. So as you look around, like on the front of the building in the Ghostly Minstrel, you're not quite seeing anything to tell you one way or another if something is watching you there. But you do then know also, like, this thing wasn't like really easily seen. So while you're outside here, in kind of like the smell of the city. You've got like the sound of people moving about. This isn't like a calm, easy place to see something from the corner of your eye. So as they start to cross, are you going to stop and wait and try to like hold a position invisibly near where that thing might have been? What kind of thoughts do you have as like you almost like move away from it or they move away from it?
yeah, I think maybe my thought is going to be try to maybe take up a position near like the window where I thought I saw it last, with the idea that if it sees Gale and Jinx leave, but if it doesn't see me, maybe it's going to come to the window to check if I'm still inside, and then maybe I can catch sight of it when it goes to do that.
Gotcha. So let me this is either a question for you to not play medley or I can put to a roll. Can I ask you a good question for you to be thinking about?
Sure.
Do you think this creature is turning invisible?
I mean, I'm
Like,
thinking. Do you mean me or Dalton?
it's more like Dalton, like, is it crossing his mind that the creature might be there and that perhaps he could just walk up and reach out for it?
Yeah, I mean, given the when I did catch a glimpse of what I thought I saw, and given it is a little bit odd, I would think that if there are other people outside, but they don't seem to have, like, at least so far as I can tell, nobody seems to have been like, no one outside is like looking like they've seen something weird or impish around. That might make me think that maybe it's able to go invisible. The other thing is that it's just really quick, or really or maybe it can disguise itself, or something. um
So let me have you do an arcana here at advantage.
all right, so that would be a 17.
And your previous perception when you stepped out behind Jinx, that was a 16, right?
Rolled
Or
16.
thereabouts.
Yep.
Okay. So as you kind of like drop away from them, and as you're kind of like almost hanging around in that area, you're going to notice without the trick of the window here, part of what you're seeing is that this creature is still there at the window. it is still watching for you, it would appear, because it is still staring like inside of the ghostly minstrel. But part of what is problematic for you is that it's not that the creature is invisible or is not invisible. It's almost like there is a tear in the fabric of space, and part of it is sort of like looking through this little area. Like, it is more visible from the glass side of the window than it is from the street side of the window. It's really hard to get that position. You would almost have to put your head up against the glass and be looking at it like lips to lips level of like closeness. But from the side, you can almost see like a little flat kind of like pane of glass almost, where there's a little crack in it. And this thing's kind of like poking through, and it almost becomes like three-dimensional as its head kind of pokes out of this little like shatter in the glass. And this is from the side view, so you're like seeing just like a hairline fracture in reality, and then this like thing's face is kind of like sticking up out of it. But it's kind of right in front of you, staring into the glass, kind of just how you were seeing it before, only now you don't have the glass kind of distorting this image of this creature.
Hmm. Um, well, Dalton's thinking
Pretty
first.
small. It kind of has like maybe a softball size head, like a small melon, big long ears that are very pointy. Again, it's got very bat-like features, where its ears are almost the same like length as its actual like skull. But that's really like kind of all that is visible to you is this like again like a small like watermelon or like a large like cantaloupe kind of size like ball.
Gotcha. Yeah, Dalton's not really sure what to make of this, so I think he's gonna look at this thing and he's gonna maybe like do a like clear his throat like intentionally, and then and maybe just like it's not polite to stare.
Roll a initiative for me real quick.
18.
Okay, right as you start to clear your throat, you're going to hear this thing start to kind of like mutter in a horrific language. You just start to hear it's almost like kind of whispering. Make a insight check.
21.
So you can pretty much tell whatever this thing is saying. One, it's one of these horrific languages that you've kind of started to come in contact with, but it is not in particular something that you understand. But you can pick up. It's kind of like a hateful language as is. It's kind of like shrill against the ears as is, but that's a high enough intuition to kind of sense this thing is like frustrated, angry, perhaps scared that it lost sight of you. And you basically hear it kind of like muttering these words right as you start to go, like you can't stop yourself from that in time.
Gotcha. Okay. So um
You can stop yourself from that next line that you said, like whether you say that or not, or whether this thing basically is like looking around for an invisible throat clear.
yeah, so I think he would stop himself from speaking. He's belatedly realizing that it would have been much smarter for him to have cast tongues before going invisible, because once he casts it, that will break the invisibility. Um, but hearing this thing muttering to itself, Um, yeah, I think he wants to. He's going to try to back away a little bit from the window, like maybe about like 5 or 10 feet, like sideways, like staying along the edge of the building, not into the square. Um, so he's going to try to kind of like creep away a little bit and then cast tongues on himself.
All right, that will drop your invisibility.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think that's what I got to do.
All right, so as you kind of like step back from this and you start to interact with the weave and bring about tongues to where you can understand.
And that is, if it makes a difference, that does also have a verbal component when I cast it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so you immediately start to understand what this creature is kind of saying. And you can basically hear like it's kind of in sort of a conversation with something else where it's like, "Mm, I I lost sight. He's gone now. I don't know. He went upstairs maybe or somewhere else. His friends have left. They're gone. They're gone. He's here. They're here. Come now." And you see as it basically sees as you become visible, it starts to basically cry out that it sees you. Come now.
Gotcha. So I think Dalton's immediate response is he's thinking whatever it's calling to come is probably not going to be something good. So he's gonna, and now he's become visible. It's seen him, so he's gonna kind of dropping any pretense. He's gonna shout out for Gale and Jinx.
Gotcha. So I think this is where instead of giving Dalton um any sort of bonus here, I'm tempted to say let me have Dalton and Jinx roll initiative, and the highest of you two. No, I'm gonna actually split you guys up. Dalton's gonna be separate. Jinx and Gale can be on the other initiative. That's what we're gonna do here.
Do
All
you
right.
want?
So, oh, go ahead, my man.
No, sorry. You go ahead first.
So 12 total.
And I had rolled initiative before. Was that for something else? Want me to re-roll it?
I I don't remember what you rolled there. What'd you roll?
Total was 18. But I can re-roll for a new initiative. That's fine too.
It's up to you.
I feel like maybe that initiative was specifically to see if I could stop myself from speaking that line after clearing my throat. So I'll re-roll initiative for this new kind of part of it.
Gotcha. Because the creature beat you on that initiative, so
Well, that's okay. So I'm going to be even lower now. That's a 10. but I think whatever, I wasn't expecting it to have a conversation, so I'm a little taken aback and a little slow to respond this time.
All right, so Jinx, you feel your invisibility drop almost instantly. You kind of hear as Dalton cries out, and you see as this like kind of happens that when you start to turn, there is like a fracture in the space right in front of the ghostly minstrel, and you see is this pale white creature that stands about 6 or 7 feet tall is kind of like stepping through this fracture in space. And as it gets through, like it's hunched over so you can see that its body is like much taller. It kind of walks at about 5 feet tall, kind of thing, but it's like very much sprung as if this thing is like a leaping creature, as if it could stand like to 7 or so feet. It has big white bat like wings, very sharp facial features, almost like wolf life or canine like. And this thing just kind of like steps out of space and is almost directly in front of Dalton as it kind of steps forward. But you and Gale have the initiative. What would you like to do, Jinx?
And how far away are we right now from the creature slash Dalton?
I'd say, you know, maybe halfway across the square. So it's probably about 100 to 150 feet to them.
So right off the bat, I'm gonna just like start running over there. So I'll like immediately start moving closer.
So are you actually dashing or are you just moving?
No, I'm not gonna dash. I'm just gonna run, or like move regular. But obviously running thematically.
Yeah, I feel like that's like the weird idea. If it's more of like a jog, really, because otherwise you do end up sort of like putting everything into it.
Yeah, I would like imagine if I'm like trying to like cast a spell while I'm like kind of running. It's more just like a brisk walk. Like,
Is power walking forwards.
yeah, so the first thing I'm gonna do is cast slow on. Can I see the other creature now, or is it still like a weird situation where I can't see it?
Effectively, you cannot see the small creature. You can only see the large thing stepping out.
Okay, yeah. So I'm gonna cast slow on the big thing. And tell me this, like, how like crowded are the streets right now? Like, how sus is it if I start like casting a spell, but also there's like a giant demon like stepping through the warp? Like I don't need to worry about like that part of it, do I?
I mean, it's definitely suspect to be casting spells. Probably pretty safe if anybody witnesses that there is a demon that you are casting on.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I'm gonna go that route.
Gotcha. Wisdom fifth, no, con 15 on slow
No, you were right. It's wisdom.
for slow.
Yep, attack save, wisdom 15.
You see, is the creature. is stepping out through this void and immediately starts to move a little slower.
Okay, I was gonna say something before you like did that, so that's why I chimed in. Um, Even though now you've already told us, obviously it failed. Can I still just waste a Bardic inspiration? Because I would have for sure tried to made it like
My
worse.
bad. Yeah, 100%.
I can definitely see like after the fact, like you get some eyewitness testimony is like, oh yeah, they summoned the demon, like he cast a spell and then the demon appeared.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Timeline get a little jumbled in the chaos.
So that should be pretty solid for Jinx's turn. What is Gale doing?
Oh, Gale seeing that thing come out. It's gonna move his like 30 feet forward while casting a firebolt at it. I think he would change it to like uh what is it, electric damage? Just because prejudice against demonic creatures. They might have resistance to fire.
Yeah, demons don't have resistance to fire. Come on. Definitely not the most resisted damage type in the game.
Definitely not. Let's see. Yeah, that's a dirty 20 to hit.
Solid hit.
Oh, for the spectacular 3 damage.
Rushing. Alrighty. So as this as this creature kind of moves forward and covers its ground up to Dalton. It is going to start to slash and claw at you, Dalton. And you notice not only is it moving slowly, but it is well telegraphed, like what its attacks are doing. Very much like leaving itself open as it attacks you, with basically no regard for itself. You've seen your father probably doing very similar things where when he gets into a rage, he can get a little bit reckless and kind of forget like self-deter or self-protection. I'm not sure specifically if we ever had your dad um, going reckless when he raged, but this thing is recklessly attacking you, Dalton.
Yep. Yeah, I think Davros did it a few times.
So the first attack is going to be a 16.
That'll
And
hit.
again, that's just the roll right now. Gotcha. So that's just the sword slash. We're going to have the second attack is it's going to claw at you.
Yep.
And that one should hit as well with the 17. So the sword is going to deal a d8. The claw follows through with a d10, and this is +6. So it's going to be 7 and then 8 damage for a total of 15. and that is slashing from both. I don't think it matters. But yeah, it basically just opens itself up to you as it like slices across you with its sword, and then like brings a claw down upon you. As it kind of steps out of this like crack in space, you see as the crack kind of like seals back up behind it, and I think at present that's going to be what it does.
All right, so Dalton does not like that.
My apologies there. With your bardic, with your ability to like manipulate stuff, do you know when it's making a save at the end of its turn that you could do it again?
Wait, is this a question for me?
I mean, it's kind of a question for both of you bards, but it is more specifically for Jinx who actually slowed this creature.
Well, I already used my reaction, and I won't have one till next turn.
Gotcha.
And I don't think Dalton would really. I feel like that'd be a little meta for him to try to use it for that.
Gotcha. So I think it's gonna break slow at the end of its turn.
Yeah, and actually, the cutting words reaction, I don't think that's for saving throws anyway. Attack roll, ability check, or damage roll.
All right, yeah, so you wouldn't have to burn that one.
Oh, okay, my bad. I was thinking it was saving throws.
Yeah, so bardic inspiration, you can give a creature a D8, but for cutting words, you can't. You can only use that on an attack roll, ability check, or a damage roll, but not on saving throws.
Okay.
Right.
So the first time he passed it, so I'll use silvery barbs then, if that's okay.
Well, what do you mean?
Well, if I can't use my reaction for cutting words, I'll just spend a slot for silvery barbs, and that'll
Oh,
just
like
give
you
me.
were gonna manipulate that 13 before. It would have gotten better. So you can burn the silvery barbs, but a 13 still fails. And then it would still save at the end of its turn. So by the time it gets to Dalton, it's the same situation. So kind of like mid attack on you, Dalton. Like this creature like almost speeds back up, and it's almost like just like it was slow motion, like stepping through that like crack in space.
Gotcha. And then let me know if it's Dalton's turn or if the smaller creature acts first.
Oh, and it wouldn't have followed up with the. I see it does. I was trying to read to make sure. I knew it said no bonus action, but the problem is because it's a creature, it just has its attacks. It does say no more than one melee. So just take the sword attack for, I think that was the 7 damage. The further 8 wouldn't have happened from the claw. But yeah, the smaller creature is not really taking part in this. As far as you would see, the smaller creature just kind of like disappears into the void there.
Gotcha. Okay. So as Dalton is so seeing it kind of temporarily slowed and it kind of seemed to leave itself open as it attacked him, he's drawing his blade, but with his first thing is he's reaching out to try to kind of as the creature leaves itself open, he's going to try to inflict wounds on it. Yeah. That'd only be with advantage. That's only an 11 to hit.
Yeah, as it speeds up, it basically is able to sort of with like a flap of its wings, almost like pull back just enough to stay away from the palm of your hand.
Yeah, so I think he's going to uh are Gale or Jinx within 60 feet of me yet? Is it
What
wrong?
do you think?
Bardic inspiration for one of them if I can with my bonus action, but they have to be within 60 feet.
I think it's fine to say that they're within 60, but I'd say they're just within.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I will try to call out some encouragement for Gale. More almost like I'm sure you're gonna, save me from this massive thing kind of thing. But he will give Gale Bardic Inspiration. Um,
All of the confidence.
like, of course you're gonna save me, Gale. That's what heroes do. And you're a hero.
Yeah, no pressure.
And Dalton was planning to back away, but as this thing kind of speeds up, he's going to just hope that Gale and Jinx can reach him in time. So he's going to kind of hold his ground here for now. So that will be his turn.
Back around to Jinx and Gale. What would you two like to do?
So I'm gonna keep going with my advance, and I will begin to weave another spell. This time I am going to curse this demon with Bane. Oh wait, if I can, right? Because we move forward 30 and then another 30, and now Bane is only 30-foot range. So I'm probably like
Yeah, that's
right
fine.
at. Okay, okay.
So yeah, this is the sort of second time you're casting on this. If it wasn't clear before, it's easier to see now that like the ability for you to manipulate the weave in relation to this creature is strained. This creature has advantage against spells. Wisdom 15 on Bane.
Charisma this time, 15.
Gotcha. I've got a hard 17 on a die. You let it go
I'm not
through.
gonna mess with it this round. I want to save
It
my
does
gas.
save, and there's no effect from Bane.
All right, and then I will bonus action hit Dalton with my bardic inspiration, and I will basically just yell out something like, "This creature appears to have resistance to spells, so good luck, brother."
You're a hero, Gale. No, you're the hero, Dalton. What would you like to do, Gale?
Yeah, I just feel like resistance to spells, wizard. I feel like I mean, I'm gonna take a shot. Use my 4th level spell. I'm gonna do Phantasmal Killer on this thing. It's a Wisdom 16 saving throw.
Hard 16 on a die. It is going to save. That's
Yeah,
save or suck, right? Nothing
yeah,
on
I'm
this.
trying to see. Yeah, I think it's just save or suck. Yep.
So let's see. It is going to reach out and attempt to grapple Dalton. Strength or acrobatics or athletics, please.
All right. Can I use my inspiration to give it disadvantage on its grapple attempt?
You most certainly can.
I will acrobatically attempt to evade it. Ooh, 14.
That's a beat. It is going to lift up Dalton, and as it flies like 20 feet up and kind of 20 feet closer to you guys, it is going to hurl Dalton like a missile towards Jinx and Gale. Let me have Jinx and Gale please make dexterity saving throws.
Oof, yeah, that's a 7.
On 18 for me.
Son of a bitch. Gale and Dalton, please take 3 bludgeoning damage as it throws Dalton down into Jinx or into Gale. Gale, roll a strength saving throw with disadvantage, please. Gale, you are going to fall prone, so the two of you are now prone on the ground. So it will go to Dalton here, basically prone on top of Gale.
Gotcha. So yeah, Dalton's going to scramble to his feet. Sorry about that, Gale. And this thing is now 20 feet still up in the air, right? So I don't think I can get to it.
Yeah, it's like 20 feet above you, 10 feet closer to the minstrel than you are.
Yeah, so he is going to, as much as he can, he'll start moving forward. He's going to draw out his hand crossbow and just fire at it up in the air. Um,
So let me ask you, as much as you can, is moving a little bit back past it, like moving 5 feet beyond it. But like, are you gonna fire a crossbow like near vertical? You want to fire it like almost vertical? You know what I mean? Like if you just stand up and fire it, you've got a solid chance that if you miss, you like hit the ghostly minstrel's roof. If you move directly under it and you fire vertical, you're like playing the old school game that they warn kids, hey, don't ever fire an arrow straight up in the air. You know what I'm getting at?
yeah, what was it? Lawn darts, that old game.
Sweet, sweet lawn darts.
Yeah, but I don't think he's probably, his head's ringing a little bit. He's not even thinking of, oh shit, the ghostly minstrel is right behind it. Um, yeah, so he's just going to stand up and I think he's just going to immediately fire. Um,
Gotcha. I think that's the safest of the choices.
Yeah, I think of that scene in The Nice Guys where like because most movies never show like what happens if you miss a shot, and I think there's one scene in that where they actually show like it just like they miss the person they're aiming at and just hit some random person behind them. But yeah, all right. So crossbow. Uh, okay,
We
so
like
that
with
would be
modifiers.
yeah 19 to hit with that.
Solid hit.
It would be a total of 4 non-magical piercing damage.
Excellent. So yeah, you do see like it pierces into this creature. You don't even necessarily see like any signs of it like drawing blood. But the bolt is stuck inside of it. But that's more or less to like notice non-magical weapons are definitely less effective against this thing.
Gotcha. Yeah. So he is. So he's going to move kind of as much as he can. Uh, Actually, it might make sense. He doesn't want to get thrown at his friends again. So maybe he's going to stick by them here for now. So yeah, he's kind of like almost like trying to help Gale up. Like obviously not mechanically, but as he fires, then he's trying to like kind of help Gale back to his feet, and otherwise still sticking close to the two of them.
So with that, it will. Ooh. Um. Yeah, when you shoot it with the bolt, you see as it like pierces into this creature, and it almost immediately kind of like continues like flying in the same flight path it was. This thing basically like flies down and I think it's gonna kind of continue that arc where it's now 40 feet above you guys and like over the statue of I can't think of the guy, the Delver statue, like in the center of the Delver Square. So it's now on the other side of you all. You are in between it and the ghostly minstrel. But it kind of reacts to getting hit by your arrow there, where it like swoops further into that direction. And then it's going to go to Jinx and Gale. You're noticing plenty of people in this square are reacting. There's definitely noises of like gasps of surprise and like shock as people are like noticing this creature and seeing you guys like basically mid combat with it. Any thoughts, Gale or Jim?
And it's what you said. It's about 40 feet off the ground right now.
Yeah, it's now like 40 feet above you. Kind of continuing that same like upward trajectory from when it lifted Dalton to like releasing him. It's basically like kind of kept flying in that same trajectory.
Okay, and I think I'm gonna go for the. I want to get within 30 feet of it, so I'm gonna try to like parkour, like climb up the Delver statue, so that I can like cast at it again.
Doing acrobatics.
16.
Gotcha. I think that's pretty sufficient to say that you can kind of manage to gain some height from the statue as you like climb up after this thing.
On as I'm like going up, I'm like yelling out to everybody. I don't suppose anybody knows anything about demons' weaknesses. And I'm gonna shoot Bane at it again. And I will use my inspiration, inspired by Dalton. Well, not literally, but my inspiration to give the demon disadvantage on the save against Bane. So flat roll.
Indeed. And
And
it's a
then
wisdom 15 against Bane.
yeah, don't tell me if it succeeds because I'm burning another bardic. Or wait, I can't. I'm gonna do a silvery barbs to give it. Oh, I can't. I already did the disadvantage, right?
I
Really
feel
wanted
like
to.
Silvery Barbs is partly broken because it's not disadvantage, right?
No, silver
Okay,
barbs
so
just. Oh, sorry.
no, you're good. So with silvery barbs, I wait until after you tell me if it succeeded or not. It says when a creature within 60 feet of yourself succeeds on a saving throw, then I use it
Yeah,
my
so
reaction.
you wouldn't have burned either of those Silvery Barbs then. Realistically, you could have Silvery Barbs when it saved on slow at the end of its turn, but that's too far in the past now. We
Yeah,
could
yeah.
leave
Don't.
it slowed now, um, and you could not burn those two Banes. I feel like it's better just to say it's Bane right now.
Yeah. I think that's the way to go because too much would have
I,
changed since then, and
I
that's
think
what
that's
I'm
in part for you guys to be the masters of your characters. I try to be up on these things, I assure you. But like remember that like I'm gonna take your word on things. So you guys have to know your characters or we're gonna play stuff wrong. And I'm okay with that. But yeah, it will be baned now.
And I do need to burn the silvery barbs, right?
You've got one burned. I don't think you need to burn a second.
Okay, affirmative.
We caught that one doesn't need burned. Holy shit, there was a fucking conversation going on in another Discord I'm in and was constant notification. Gail, what are you up to?
Yeah, Gale is gonna stand up after his being knocked down, and he's gonna cast a third level acid arrow. Yeah, Mel's acid arrow, and I'm gonna give myself an inspiration because I'm gonna fish for a crit because I can. That's sad. A 1 and a 2.
Well.
And I don't think like an 8 hits. I would
No,
I'd
not at all.
blame that on being groggy still after being knocked down.
Yeah. So it is going to like basically arc in the air and fly down, slashing into Gale with its sword. It is going to drag a claw across Jinx as it flies past him. So Jinx, you will have an attack of opportunity if you would like to react to it as it flies past you. So this is against Jinx with the claw. Should be a solid hit with the 19.
Yeah, I'm not going to be messing with it.
It's going to do 9 slashing to you. And then it's basically going to slam into Gale as it slashes across him with its sword. With a 4? Anybody want to mess with a 4?
If a 4 still hits Gale, we're in trouble. So
I don't believe the 4 is going to hit Gale. Gale's got a pretty solid AC. Yeah, 15, 6. I think Gale has. Oh wait, no, that's his DC. 15 though. Yeah, so it like slashes into. I believe we've got Gale with mage armor, right? So into like your kind of magical force.
Yep.
Are you reacting as it flies past you, Jinx, to attack?
Yeah, I will do a boomerang attack on him.
Excellent. It is reckless, so you can attack with advantage.
Is that ranged attacks also, or is that only in like melee?
I feel like attack of opportunities are melee attacks. Warcaster opens it up to spells. So I think you're more or less using the boomerang as a club at that point there.
Okay, I'm gonna yell, "Get away from me, bitch!" And I'm gonna smack him with my boomerang. And it's a 22 for
Solid.
8 damage. Oh wait, 6 damage, because if it's melee, it's gonna minus out my strength, I think.
Excellent. Um, will you do a con save at advantage for its hit against you? Should just be against the DC 10. And then it goes on to Dalton.
Okay,
You
I
got stupid
rolled.
high con, that saves.
Yeah, I have 13 total.
All right. So can Dalton now reach it in melee? Is it still? So it flew by Jinx. Was it still
It's
kind of up
essentially
in?
right beside you, yeah. Like you and Gale, as far as I know, are effectively in combat with it right now.
Okay, yeah. So Dalton's he'll drop the hand crossbow, kind of drawing out the long sword with both hands and kind of slashing down on it. Narratively, essentially trying to like almost like slash into its wing to try to hobble it, but obviously just a normal attack here. And it's going reckless, so he has advantage, right?
That is correct.
All right. Eesh. I don't even know if it's worth trying to use the bardic inspiration on that. No, that's just gonna miss. Uh, uh, yeah, essentially trying to call his shot and just completely whiff here. That is his turn. He'll like try to maneuver a little bit, but he's basically staying close to Gale here. I guess if he can maneuver to, I don't know if Gale has any sort of melee attack, but he would try to essentially maneuver around to the other side of it to try to distract it and give him flanking. But other than that, he's sticking close to Gale.
Gotcha. Yeah, you could definitely position yourself opposite of it, to where at least potentially the two of you are flanking it. From the southern end of Delver Square, you see as a few guards start to flow out of the watch house, and they all start to scream, "Demon in the streets!" And you see as they raise their crossbows, all of them kind of firing in unison, and then they like pick back up on their charge as they run towards it. One of these soldiers is going to hit it with its crossbow and deal another. And then it's going to go to Jinx and Gale.
Yeah, I think Gale will just shocking grasp it. Hopefully. And
Gotcha.
that's
So you can gain +2 for that flanking,
yeah.
but otherwise do the advantage and +2.
Oh, that was almost the crit I wanted. So yeah, 29 to hit.
Solid hit.
For 14 electric damage. Oh, well, lightning. Yeah. And it can't use its reaction until the start of its next turn. Gale. Sorry, Dalton. It's gonna
Oh
move.
shit! Dalton just hit it, right?
No, Dalton missed. Gale hit it though.
Oh no, I hit it with the crossbows. My bad. It is already going to react. It is going to attack Dalton. It's gonna no, it's gonna slash out at you with its sword. When one of the crossbows hits it, like sinks into its shoulder, it just slashes out with its sword, just like pure reaction of the moment its muscles like go into pain. The sword just slashes out, and you like dodge out of the way like Matrix style, just like seeing this. Oh wait, it has advantage still. It's reckless. It's gonna hit you, and the sword is a D8.
All right, I might cut.
Gonna
I'm going
hit
to
you for
cutting
10.
words. I'm going to cutting words the damage.
Gotcha. So it's a total of 10 damage. So cutting words down to 1 or 3 with an 8.
Ugh. All right, 8.
So take 8. Yeah, my bad. And then it gets shocked. You will notice that the lightning damage is of the things that you guys have used against this, which is vastly physical damage. Yeah, Bane wouldn't have changed that anyways. My bad. Lightning damage is the first thing that actually seems to really truly affect this thing.
And you will notice that last sword strike does leave Dalton bloodied.
Oh, and that's on me now then?
Yeah, Gale does the shocking grasp. Are you doing any movement, Gale? But otherwise, yes, it's still the two of you.
Yeah, Gale would move. Yeah, at least like 20 feet away from it.
Okay, so and Gail, are you bloodied right now?
No, Gale is surprisingly healthy.
All right, so I'm gonna go for a duo here. So I'm gonna hit Dalton with a healing word from a distance, and then I'm gonna do a vicious mockery on the demon. And I'm just gonna yell out when I cast vicious mockery, real loud, so everybody can hear from the top of the statue, from my pulpit. Um, Basically already dead, but we don't mind you getting in on the action. And I'll like point at it so like the guards know, like, hey, help us. And it's only 5, Dalton.
The cutting words is going to have little result.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, but the healing word does seem to heals up the worst of Dalton's wounds. He is no longer bloodied.
Nice. And I'm just gonna stay standing up on top of the statue like an idiot.
When there's a chandelier, you stand on that chandelier and you swing. You swing that chandelier.
It's just what you do.
Alrighty. It is going to. Let's see. It is going to rake a claw down Dalton's face, trying to distract you as it like flies in a beeline right for Gale and tries to like basically just cut Gale in two. But it is going to rake across Dalton's face with its claw. A roll to 9.
I have already used my reaction, so I don't have anything.
I believe
My bad. I'm actually not gonna affect this one.
I believe that's going to hit you. Your AC is 15.
15, yep.
Yep. So it's going to rake its claws down your face, and then it's going to step away from you as it flies off towards Gale. So you are welcome to attack of opportunity if you would like. Again, it's reckless, so you have advantage on that attack. And this is the attack on Gale. Rolled 9 on Gale.
I'll minus that one.
Gotcha. Gale's AC is 15. Yep, that's going to make it a miss.
All right. The opportunity attack should hit with a 20. Or no, it's
Sounds
21.
good.
For, let's see, 10 plus.
Is this the Antarctic sword? Anarchic.
Yes.
This creature is lawful, so you do the extra damage.
Okay. And then I get 5 from sneak, so it's 15, and then plus another 2d6.
And you'll notice that this blade does full damage to it as well.
So a total of 23 damage.
Excellent. That quite
Altogether.
literally doubles the damage that you guys have done to it so far. And it's going to deal 12 damage to you as it claws across your face.
All right, that leaves Dalton. He is now mortally wounded. The one quick question I forgot. When I hit it with the, that's going to make a big difference. When I hit it with the crossbow, I think it had been attacking recklessly, so I think I would have had advantage on that. So would have gotten sneak attack damage.
Yeah, would have. You could apply another d6.
All right, so I think it'll probably resist non-magical, but 6
It's
damage.
no longer was quite literally double. It was 3 damage less than double now. Yeah, it takes damage. It can use its reaction. Yeah, so it rakes across your face, flies towards Gale, but like as you shoot it from behind, oh, it's so weird that it can do that during its turn, but it doesn't say it doesn't work like that. I think it's like response, like when it has something happen to it, it just responds. You see as it like almost like how basketball players like slide into their feet and do that like quick reverse. This thing almost like claws down into the ground with like one claw to like create a pivot point, flies back towards you and like bites into Dalton before using him like in this bite as a pivot point to then fly off towards Gale, where it slashes across him with the sword. And again, it missed Gale on that attack. But yeah, it like almost like flies away from Dalton, back to Dalton, and then back to Gale. And it should hit you with the nat 16 on the die there with its bite.
Yeah.
And it is going to deal 7 piercing damage as it bites down on you, and 2 cold damage. I don't think the cold matters, so 9 total damage.
Gotcha. Yep. Dalton is
And
definitely weaving back and forth. He's barely on his feet.
and then it's gonna go back to you, Dalton, for your turn. You'll see that strike with the anarchic sword has left this creature like well wounded. You now have it bloodied. And again, you basically did visually, you essentially took this creature from like minor injuries to like actually injuring this creature to where you can see the wounds. And most specifically, it's that same way as you saw Kiranos. I forget his name offhand right now. But you can like see this visual difference in the way the flesh like rots away from the wound from that blade.
Gotcha. Yep. Yeah. So blood kind of streaming from multiple different cuts, kind of maybe even get in his eyes a bit. But Dalton is going to, seeing that the blade kind of cut deep into this thing, heedless. He's going to rush after it and try to swing it at it again. And it's still been attacking recklessly, right?
Yep, all of it's a reckless creature.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So that should hit for total of 12 damage. Or no, 13 because it's a +1 to damage roll. Yeah, so 13 total. And he tries to brace himself for what he knows is coming as he slices into it.
Yeah, I think it's gonna bite into Gale. And should hit him with a natural 16. I think that is a total of 7 damage, 4 piercing, 3 cold to Gale. And you see more and more like this isn't a thought process. This thing reacts to damage. It's just like grasping at whatever it can get its claws or whatever it can get its teeth on, kind of thing. That should take us then, if you're good there, Dalton. Those vets, the soldiers are gonna cross over like a little bit more. As they're basically, like in a jog, like reloading. They all I guess realistically they should have advantage too, but I'm gonna stick with this idea. Where I'm just rolling the general dice. 3 solid hits, I think there. Yeah, and I think basically like as Dalton's like cutting through it on that one and it like bites down into Gale, these 3 bolts like come to the side. As far as things go, like the soldiers coming up are gonna get the final hits there. But you definitely see like the wounds from your sword, Dalton, are the only wounds that really show on this creature, other than like the burns from the lightning. But that sword definitely killed this creature. You can already see like the flesh around where like the bolts pierce through. Is the damage of non-magical weapons is minimal to this creature.
Gotcha. Yeah, so Dalton heaves a sigh of relief as it finally kind of collapses. He kind of gives a weary nod towards the soldiers running over, and looks towards Gale and then Jinx, and that was not what I saw in the window.
Delvers, what manner of beast have you summoned here? Is this something from below? What has brought this creature here?
Not us. We were just leaving the tavern, and
So I'll
Uh,
jump off the statue onto the stupid demon, and I'll bonk its carcass with my boomerang.
our apologies. I didn't mean to infer that you summoned it, but did you bring the demon from below? Did it? Um,
seemed
It was
what do you know about this thing? And one of them is like just kind of like poking at it with its like drawn with their like empty crossbow, just kind of like poking at the creature that Jinx is standing on.
sort of got the jump on us. We didn't really see where it came from. Sort of like just kind of tore through reality, stepped through from another plane or something like that. Very, very strange. As I'm doing this, I'm like securing my boomerang and I'm walking over to Dalton.
seemed as if it stepped right out of thin air.
I don't suppose y'all be offended if I was to see to my friend, and I'm gonna start like weaving a healing spell. Just sort of making sure that the guards like aren't gonna get mad.
Uh, I do know something else. Something else called it here. Whether it summoned it or simply uh, communicated with it as beyond my understanding. But then Dalton will try to describe kind of the smaller thing as well, as much as he can.
Let me get an Arcana from you, Dalton, and from Gale.
And Dalton, it's 9 total healing.
It's going to have to be for Gale because Dalton got a 4 on his Arcana check.
Solid.
28 for Gale.
So Dalton's description gives fiendish qualities. Oh man, it's just so starkly opposite. What was the actual D20 rolled from you, Gale? Like, what's your maximum Arcana?
Oh, let's see. What did I say? 28?
Were you a 16 or higher? My apologies. What I was going for there is the higher
Yeah.
Dalton rolls, the lower your roll needs to be. The lower his goes, the higher yours needs to be.
Yeah, sorry, just had to do some math in my head. But yeah, I rolled a 17.
Gotcha. So yeah, you can relatively figure out that he's basically describing a creature sort of often used by other fiends and sometimes by wizards of ill repute as a sort of familiar. They're definitely cowardly fiends, sort of the lowest degree. Um, I'm gonna say you don't necessarily know the name of it for how things go, but it's definitely just one of those things where you can kind of pick up with what Dalton saw before, with how he describes it, with what these guards know and recognize. That you were basically watching something's familiar that was watching you. And when it basically called, it was calling to its master. So you guys kind of have a solid sense of this thing that's like dead on the ground is likely that creature's kind of controller. And on some level, that thing's kind of set free at present. So they like will poke you and prod you guys for some information. They're not like terribly accusative of you guys' wrongdoing. Neither are they necessarily completely like a void of sort of giving you shit as if there is guilt to be had. But you can kind of tell, like on some level, they're just leaning on you enough that if they get questioned from their superiors, that they'll kind of have like a little bit of recourse. They take down information from you. Do you guys basically give them information that matches your information, like as delvers? Do you give them legitimate information?
I'll give like a little speech about how much we appreciate them stepping in and how important bravery is with all the impending destruction on the city, and how we know that they're underappreciated and underpaid. And I'm gonna give each of them 10 gold and try to like kind of hand wave the whole like credentials thing.
You can make a charisma check at disadvantage.
I got a natural 20 and a natural 1.
Um, so did you give them legitimate credentials? Or are you trying to avoid giving them credentials? Would you say that?
Yeah, yeah, I'm trying to avoid giving them credentials. I never like to talk to the police, so and I am giving them 10 gold each, regardless.
Sir, we cannot accept bribes. Any such payments would incur reasons for you to be arrested immediately. We are asking for your name. You do not need to pay us anything. Give us your name and you can go free. Attempt to give us gold and you will find yourself. And the guy is like closing his eyes, like, please, for the love of God, do not try to hand me gold. If you try to give us gold, we have to arrest you. We have no choice but to arrest people who would bribe city guards. Do you have a legal name, sir?
You like see my eyes shift into like Gail, and then over to Dalton.
Dalton's gonna just kind of like give a little nod, and he'll kind of try to lead by example, stepping forward. He will give his actual information, show his well, if they ask, he'll show his citizenship papers. He's thinking like if this was kind of just a normal scuffle, maybe we could kind of get away with kind of sweet talking, but just fought a huge demon, or in the middle of a city square, so they might not be too keen to just kind of look the other way.
So with Dalton handing up his papers, does everybody else follow?
Yeah, Gale would follow suit as well.
Like reluctantly, you see Jinx like putting the gold away, and he's like, "Sure, sure, and it's all legal. Got permit for the firearms and everything. I wasn't even a bribe, you know. I was more of a contribution to your families for having such upstanding citizens. But of course, we would never break the law. Who gets to
Who's
keep this
carrying
house?
firearms? I need to see your permits for your fire. Ooh, which? Now they're now like looking over the three of you to see who of you has firearms.
I think with that, Gale will just immediately kind of. I don't have any firearms. I don't.
Dalton
Dalton
has
or Jinx, are you carrying them?
Dalton has taken to carrying his, but he does have his permit as well.
Sir, you realize it's best overall if you have a firearm. If you're gonna be showing your paperwork, just to show that paperwork at the same time, and just to let us know right away to try to go through the process without showing us your legal paperwork, it just creates more problems. We are trying to be on your side here. We are not trying to be against you. We can clearly tell that you were helping out the people of the city in everything that you were doing. All you have to do is continue to stay on the right side of the law. And then they're going to look to Jinx. Your firearms, sir, your paperwork, are they all in order?
Yeah, so I sort of like kick like some of the like clothing to the side, and you could see I'm like wearing my piece on my belt, and then I'll like give him a little wink, and then I like show him the other one, and then I'll give him
I
my
was going to say,
paper.
don't you have multiples now?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Do
it's
you
like a
need paperwork
boomerang.
for each one, or is it just for the first one? How about the fourth, the sixth one? No.
I don't suppose I need a permit for these. And you see, like right next to each of the firearms, there's a boomerang strapped to my belt as well on each side.
There is no precedent currently set that we require registration of boomerangs. And with that, like they'll give you guys a little hassle. They'll go over your paperwork a little bit more. But they'll finally thank you. They'll part ways with you guys again with like the same idea. It's like all of your paperwork is in order. Just be forward with it. And please, and then once again, kind of looking at Dalton, for the love of Lothian, do not try to hide your firearm while you are carrying a firearm. And you can just tell, like, as they're leaving, like, one of the guards just found it absolutely hilarious, and she's like laughing at the other two. But mostly, like, you could tell, like, clearly, like, sort of the captain of the three was just frustrated because effectively, like, something that was probably going to be easy now is going to be like a bunch of different filing of paperwork because effectively like it went from like registering the demon like getting slain to like having to describe the situation with you guys having to reference your firearms. But yeah, it's just going to be like paperwork for them. Seems like everything's kind of in order. Let me have you guys do a, I feel like charisma for the bards and hmm, I feel like knowledge just kind of like is an intelligence, but what could it be? Like not religion. Do an investigation for me, Chris.
That's 21.
Because I feel like you guys are always kind of doing like a chatting people up to kind of like distract them and keep them like off their own like solid stance, like solid footing kind of thing. Um, what did the bards get?
Straight charisma would be a 20 for me.
My bad. Like not necessarily like without proficiencies and whatnot. Um, I feel like it would be persuasion though. It's almost like I wish they had fast talk in this. The fast talk is one of my favorite things from Call of Cthulhu.
Would it be more?
Mine's 26.
Gotcha.
Would
So
it,
all of you are outside of 20. You do kind of like pick up like the guards are effectively short-handed here. That at present there is a large kind of draw on um like effectively the city guards normally are like the internals of the city, whereas city guard the city watch watches the walls of the city. At present, the city watch is drawn out of the city as the Council of 12 is meeting with the barbarian horde has arrived at the kind of Pelennor gates. Like they are inside of that kind of like outer wall, like the most outer wall, like basically having a meeting between sort of the Lord of the Barbarians and like the city, like the 12 commissars, or not the 12. The commissar is one person. I can't think of what the 12 is, but that organization of 12 kind of like leaders of the city are currently meeting with the barbarians. So you guys kind of find out in this conversation, like the city guard are like, oh shit, yeah, we're sorry we only came with 3 people. We're really glad that you guys were able to basically distract that. And they definitely claim that they're the ones who killed it. Again, Dalton definitely recognizing his sword was predominant there. um but they basically have this kind of like level of like throughout that whole experience where you guys can like kind of pick out this little bit of information that the city guard is taking part in watching the walls of the city. The city watch is now kind of posted out on the outer walls, and the 12 commanders are effectively like in negotiations with like the head of the barbarian horde in that outer wall. Um, with that, though, we're going to take a break here. We'll take 5 or so. We'll come back when everybody's good and we'll hop back in. And then that way we can take another break or two. Probably another break if we, depending how long we go for.
As they're leaving, can I try to do a sleight of hand to slide gold into the non-captain's pocket? When we get back, whatever, it doesn't matter.
You can roll a sleight of hand.
Okay, and I'm going to use from my natural one for inspiration.
Wait, like you just rolled another nat one, or no? Okay, the nat one was from that disadvantage. I got you.
Yes. Okay, so it's 24 to slide the gold into maybe like the girl who was like being cool's pocket.
So are you sliding like a pouch of 30 gold into her pocket, or are you sliding like 10 gold into her pocket?
Oh no, I'm gonna like secure it into like a little pouch and give her all 30 of the gold. And I'll just say something to the tune of and we do apologize once again for all of the unnecessary paperwork.
She does not notice in the least bit, as her body apparently grows about 2 pounds in weight. She's just apparently doesn't notice.
All right, awesome. I'll see you guys in a couple minutes.
All right. See you in a couple minutes.
I'm back.
What up, buddy?
And did Chris step away?
I have not heard Chris yet. So just random question, Justin. Out of curiosity, how old are you today?
39. So next year will be a bigger one.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I just had my birthday, turned 41, so I'm like just ahead of you.
Hello, I'm back.
Happy belated birthday.
Excellent.
Oh yeah, thanks, man. Are you doing anything special? I know you said what vacation? You're taking a week off.
Yeah, I've got 2 weeks off, so I just started that a few days ago. So heading out to Long Island tomorrow just for a few days. Otherwise, just kind of taking it easy.
Where are you at? Upstate?
I'm in Jersey,
Oh,
northern.
you're in Jersey. Okay, so you're like relatively close to the border.
Yeah, by car would be about like 30 minutes into the city. 40 minutes.
He's
Oh,
got to
okay.
live where
So
Ashley was when she was commuting to the city. It's got to be the same area, basically.
yeah, that makes perfect sense. I think that's really common because like the cost of living or like something makes it beneficial to do. I don't know. I always hear about how expensive Jersey's taxes and everything are.
Yeah, it's less expensive than living in the city itself, but not by all that much. Especially once as you get closer. Like I'm out in the suburbs, so a lot of people like essentially most of northern New Jersey, a lot of northern New Jersey is essentially just like commuter towns into the city. Like people work in the city and then come and live out in the suburbs. Um, Property taxes are ridiculously high. Rent is definitely it's cheaper than the city, but not by all that much.
I
Yeah, it
never
makes
thought
sense.
about it, but how does taxes work when you're like employed in another state?
Basically, you pay taxes in both, but you get so because I live in New Jersey, all of my income is taxed by New Jersey. I pay income taxes in New York because that's where I earn my income, and then I get so I have to when I do my taxes, I have to do New York taxes and New Jersey taxes, and then I get a credit for the New York taxes that I pay against my New Jersey taxes. It's a
God,
nightmare.
our tax system is so fucked.
Yeah, and then they were having a fight because, like, obviously during the pandemic, people were not commuting into the city. So, then it was like, well, like, should New York even be getting those taxes because you're not actually working in New York? And then, like, New Jersey's like, well, it depends on like if you're working at home for like uh, I forget exactly what they call it, but it's like for the convenience of the employer that's you do that that's one way, but then if they actually tell you to work in New Jersey, then it's like it's and then you have to like you're supposed to come up with like, okay, what percentage of days did you actually commute into New York, and that's the percentage that you can get a credit for. So it's usually what ends up happening is I get a small tax credit back from New York, and I owe taxes in New Jersey, and they mostly balance out. But it's a pain.
And like those two states specifically are like always fighting trying to get that money.
Yeah, yeah. I think they've had court cases about it, and yeah, and especially now the big thing is the because New York wants to start imposing uh, congestion taxing, congestion pricing taxes. So like for people who drive into the city, I take public transit, so it wouldn't affect me. But New Jersey's like all up in arms because it's going to hit like, obviously all the people who drive in from Jersey are going to start having to pay these congestion taxes, and they're not going to see any. So they're trying to like find ways to essentially retaliate.
Yeah, that congestion tax was the one I just saw like a news thing on.
Yeah, so
I feel like London did something like that, and it really helped like reduce the numbers of cars inside of London.
yeah, that's the goal for New York is they're trying to like they've made a bunch of places like essentially pedestrian only, and they want to cut down on the number of cars actually driving in.
Well,
I
I'm
feel
pretty
like
sure the
they had
public.
a
I'm pretty sure the public transportation is like bleeding money right now too. So they're trying to get more people to actually use it. So it's kind of like a win-win.
Yeah, I feel like Chicago like built green spaces over their roads. So they almost like built all of the roads like under tunnels. Maybe not all, but large sections of it. So you could actually have like pedestrian ways as the visible like top of the city. And it like hides the cars, at least again, part of the time, like underneath some of these like bypasses. But it just seems really crazy to me not to have cities that are actually, like, vastly walkable. I love New York City, but it is definitely something else, like, crossing all of those roads with constant congestion, like, the smell of gasoline everywhere you go. It's something special. Not always great.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, like, but their subway is like 100 years old, 100 plus years old, and it's a nightmare. Especially in the summer, like you go down into the subway and it's like 150 degrees. It's and they just passed a law now that like businesses have to actually put their garbage in like cans and stuff. So yeah, it's New York has some interesting smells. Yeah, I vastly prefer working from home, but
So yeah, we are all set with you guys kinda finishing up having killed this demon that seems to have been trailing you. You have slipped in a nice little bribe into, well, not really a bribe because you didn't need to. A nice little tip into the guard's pocket as they were leaving. What are you guys up to in the center of Dover Square?
I mean, I don't know if this is the best timing, but I kind of want to stop in and ask around about Neffy. Or did we already kind of cover that with the like the week's time, like looking for her? Would we have already like done all that?
well, I think that's why we're headed. That's why we came to the square initially was to head to Danbury's, but we got a bit sidetracked by the demon.
It's more perhaps to say that you've probably already been to Danbury's and spoke to like Danbury himself, than to say, have you gone like you've just basically found out some of the rumors that give you the name of Lavis Falomir as one of Neffy's contacts, or that Lavis apparently is the last person Neffy spoke to.
Yeah, okay, okay. So we'll ask about Lavis, but I mean, can we do it right after there was just like this huge commotion with like insane demons? Like, are like businesses still just like open for business, or do they close up shop?
You could probably notice just kind of looking about that you've drawn at least a few of the people who you often see like within Danbury's kind of to the like exit area. Like Oren the barkeep is kind of like looking out of the front door. And when you guys like kind of like spot that direction, he like at least has a little bit of a nod to like recognize like, oh, I know those guys. Why are they fighting demons?
That's nothing to see here. You've put it down.
I mean, the gods pretty much did all the work. We just kind of kept it distracted. Well, I mean, while we've got them, should we pop into Danbury's here and
If you care to come on in, I do believe I could pour you a drink on me and appreciate whatever that creature was. You all seem to handle it right well. Um, for for whatever ragtag group that you seem to be. It was definitely an interesting watch. It was very entertaining. And Oren will like pour you guys each like a little bit of a lager. Did any of y'all take the smoking? Would you like to enjoy a little bit of any recreational tobacco or other products?
I can't speak for everyone, but count me in for everything. All day's work deserves a little fun. We do have a couple of questions, but let you get comfortable first.
Yeah, nah, I think I will stick to the drink. Thank you.
I'll have to see. My life flashed before my eyes once or twice today. I'll not say no to a drink and a bit of a smoke as well.
So he'll bring out like the drinks for you all, but he'll then come out shortly after with a hookah to kind of like set up on the table, and he lights like a charcoal on top of it, and he'll set out like a few different like pouches of tobacco and kind of like explains like these different like kind of fruity flavors, and then like some of these that are just like Tarsian tobacco. This one is, you know, like an elvish kind of blend, and he's kind of got these different like just traditional things, and then he'll like pull out like one little block that's kind of like a like kind of tarry substance, and he'll be and it looks like specifically Dalton, you might be a little bit more interested in this one just for the physical needs. It'll kind of separate your mind and your body into two separate. It's a good time. Yeah, it'll probably just enjoy a little bit of that for you. Uh, and then he like looks over at Jinx. Are you actually interested in a little bit? No. And like eventually he kind of like leans in like enough to like pass off like, are you interested in a little bit of shrivel?
Oh no, I apologize. I may have overstepped there. No, actually, matter of fact, I'm the
Oh yeah,
opposite.
yeah. You'll go blind, go insane, like some of that shit. Once it gets into you, you don't really ever come back.
And you don't mind passing that out, potentially giving people something that they could never come back from. You don't mind that at all.
I
And
mean,
you,
I'll
you know,
put people in contact with people who are in contact. That's
you
kind of
like
my job.
my bad. You could like noticeably recognize that like Jinx doesn't look like relaxed anymore, and he's kind of like changed his tone. You know how he feels about Shrivel. Well, like the group does.
Yeah, I just don't judge people, so people can do whatever they would like in a place where they have the self determination to make those choices. And some
Sure,
people
sure.
do, some people don't.
I get it. That's fine. That's your prerogative. We all got to draw the line somewhere. It's not always in the same place.
And he'll like tap the like black little like tarry substance, and he's just like, "Oh, this one dances a finer line, so you may not want to touch that. You may want to, but your friend in pain there. I saw what that thing did to your face. Your face may never recover. That may be permanent, but this will at least make you feel better now. Well, rather, you won't feel, but this is potentially where the line gets a little hazier for you all. But enjoy."
Dalton will he'll kind of glance towards Jinx, but then he'll look towards Orin, and I think I've earned a bit of bit of a respite, and he'll kind of nod and point and gesture towards the kind of the black tarry substance. So
So
he will
go ahead.
indulge.
He'll definitely question you guys a little bit about like the demon battle and whatnot, about what was going on. He's definitely got his curiosities. But after a few moments or so, he'll end up kind of returning to behind the bar and kind of leave you guys to yourselves. All in all, pretty typical kind of Danbury type of day. You guys have come in here pretty regularly, a little more often than like so usually, and you kind of notice almost every single time that you come into this place, there's a couple of wizards who are sitting together, talking, chatting, smoking a hookah. There's a person who's like a black, shadowy kind of figure who you've never seen like any of their skin or flesh. That's just kind of like hooded in a corner, just kind of like shadily there. You often see Orin behind bar. Sometimes you see um Tabor behind bar. You've seen Nefrendel running around as a waitress, but like often this place has like the same group of people who are here. Sometimes you see it like filled with other people, but you're basically starting to recognize that like on some level, those like three guests, the two wizards and that shadowy figure, are just always here. They're just a part of this bar, and they've always been here. Um, but otherwise, yeah, you guys kind of sit down. You can start to enjoy yourselves. Eventually, Orin will leave you in peace.
So Dalton will kind of looking to Jinx and Gale, and kind of give like a little, maybe what he thinks is a surreptitious, but probably under the influence, probably very obvious, like kind of nod towards the kind of the figures who seem like kind of have always been here when we've seen them before, and he'll suggest seem to be uh, more regular than we are here. If Neffy was here meeting with Lavis, they might be the ones to ask.
Outside the game, do do we remember? Was it Danbury's where they were meeting? Is that where they met for sure?
I don't know if we know they met there, but I think the information we have is they were planning to meet there.
Okay, okay. So we're just not sure if they actually did, but the destination was Danbury's. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I think that's a real good idea, Dalton, honestly. About the best damn idea we've had all day. You want to break the ice, or I mean, Gail, obviously you could if you wanted to, or not sure what we really have to offer them. Do we go the drinks and food route? Do we try to spice it up with some gold, or give them a favor? Just ask nicely? What y'all thinking?
Well, if they are in here as often as it seems they are, we could just see if maybe drop a hint that we're looking for Lavis. No need to bring Neffy's name into it at all to start.
Yeah, sure. We could kind of build on it as we need to. I think it was your idea, Dalton. So, got any good icebreakers? And I'm gonna give you bardic inspiration. And then I'll like start to get up or whatever. If you were like wanting to walk over there.
Yeah. Do they seem to be? If they have like any like drinks in front of them, Dalton will kind of look towards Orin and
Kind of like
kind of like
order him another round.
yeah, like kind of like more almost like using like hand gestures, like like two or three, however many there are in the group of people, and kind of and then towards the table, and then as he doing that is then when he'll kind of like stand up and start to walk over. Kind of put a smile, friendly smile on his face. Maybe a bit of a glazed expression, from the effects of whatever he's been taking.
Yeah. If you go right ahead, 5 more drinks. I'll be right there. Sees like Arin kind of like looks at you, and he can't tell whether you're like ordering like 2 drinks for them and you guys are like going over there to approach them, whether you're ordering like 5 and you're like going over there to like join them. He seems like very kind of confused like at the thought of this. And after a few moments you guys can kind of go over there, and apparently you've ordered drinks for the table. You just don't quite really understand necessarily what's going through Orin's head at present. Uh, but do you wait for said drinks, or are you guys going directly over there?
Dalton probably won't wait. He figures, or of course he knows what I meant, so he'll just kind of head on over and.
You would expect that a bartender definitely knows what you meant. So you can head on over. These 2 guys are still like they're sitting there puffing away at the hookah. They still have like drinks in front of them. They're not really terribly like reactive to like the changes you guys all approach. But you can approach their high top and if you would like, pull up a few chairs.
Yeah, so Dalton will grab a chair, and he'll kind of like he'll sit down, and then um, give a greeting, and hope you don't mind if we join you. But he's definitely already sat down before he says that.
Join. Yes, yes. No, no mind. Welcome.
Glad to see we're not the only ones who don't hew to the regular hours. Don't suppose you caught that little excitement outside a few minutes ago? That was us.
Excitement. Outside, you say. Oh, we didn't notice. Oh, what was it? What did you do?
Oh, it's quite a story, actually. Maybe I'll tell you once the drinks arrive. But before I get into that whole long spiel, uh, we did come here for a bit of another reason. You don't know a fellow named Lavis, do you? I think he's stopped in here time to time.
Lavis. Everything that you kind of hear seems to, in some way, be sort of like repeated. And there's a certain way of kind of like recognizing there's kind of one of these figures seems to be saying something, and the other one kind of like follows. And they seem to kind of like speak in like in a pair almost. Ah, yes, yes. Avis. An information broker, a broker. And you'll kind of like start to pick up like it's always this one on the right who seems to say more, and the one on the left who seems to kind of like follow like the sentence almost behind. Hmm, Lavis. Information broker. North Market. Uh, Falomir. Lavis Falomir. Yes, yes. We do. We've met Lavis.
So Dalton might like kind of like as he kind of is realizing this like bit of a pattern, he might like glance towards the second kind of the figure who seems to be more repeating, and then almost like give a little shake of his head and maybe think, what was that stuff the Doran gave me? Before focusing his attention back on the first one, the one who seems to be kind of initiating the responses and
Jinx and Gale, have you guys smoked from the hookah since the black tar was put on it?
Gale hasn't.
The black tar wasn't shrivel, right?
Correct. Shrivel is like a red, like seaweed.
Okay, yeah, I would have smoked it.
Gotcha. So, uh, Jinx and Dalton, both of you have smoked like the black tar that was, something a little bit more along the line. That might be a little easier to kind of rationalize. Gail, you have not. Jinx and Dalton might be wondering if this whole effect is from that substance. Gail also hears it. These people speak like that. But as you guys kind of like look over them and like kind of question like what's going on here, you'll start to kind of pick up like little subtle things that are kind of like different about these two figures. They seem to dress very similar to one another. They seem to have on kind of the same like tabard and almost like guild like dress kind of set up, long flowing big blue robes and almost of the same kind of quality. One of them you just kind of notices might be a little bit older, might have a little bit more like tarnish, like kind of to their clothing from different activities. But all in all, these figures both seem to be, relatively equal in like size and stature to one another. It just seems that they almost kind of speak sort of in a unison like this. But without actually recognize it, like Dalton, you don't necessarily know that Gale also is hearing them kind of speak like this. Valamir was a friend of the girls, Neferndel. Valamir came here before. Valamir's been here. Uh, Sells books. Books in the North Market. Valamir sells books, information. Information broker.
it just so happens we might be in need of having some information brokered ourselves. North Market, you say?
North Market, small carts, cart of books, North Market.
Now, I think at some point Dalton bought some books from somebody in a cart. He probably would this is a long time ago, and I don't think he would remember the name of who he bought it from, if or even even got a name, especially in his maybe current condition. Because I think he had bought some books from like on like noble houses, like history books. Um,
That's correct.
so he might, maybe, I don't know, maybe that comes to him and he kind of tries to describe kind of like the um description of the person. Like, probably want to roll because I don't remember, but maybe I'll roll. I'm gonna give him disadvantage on would that be like a history check to see if he remembers, because it was a while ago.
Don't make it too hard on yourself. It's powerful business.
That's a nat one disadvantage. So he he'll just like, older guy, right? Like very vague description. I think I bought a book from him. That sound like Lavis.
You think you'd recognize him again if you saw him, Dalton?
Dalton's just gonna shake his head.
Jinx will like look over at the wizards and proposition them. I don't mean to presume anything about your powers, but can't do a minor illusion or something like that and show us what this gentleman looks like, could you?
Make a history check with advantage here, Dom.
All right, that'll be a 16.
So you see as the first of them kind of starts to like form this image, and the second one starts to form an image almost like right behind him. And you see like they seem to be making at least like around the same sort of like thought, where you're kind of like looking at almost a 3D representation of this person as they can kind of like describe them. And it seems to be about the same kind of like person who you vaguely remember from that little cart filled with books. And I think you picked up a book on genealogy of the ancient people of Tolis. I'm looking for my notes from that day, and I can't find it specifically. But I don't think you asked for his name. I don't think the cart has a name, and I don't think there was much to it other than to basically see. Yeah, it seems like this might be that same person.
The book he bought was Founding Seafarers of the Western Empire. He was interested in genealogy because he essentially wanted to forge some, essentially like kind of like provenance papers, or potentially. But he'll kind of nod. Yeah, that seems like him. Damned if I can remember just where in the North Market I met him, but I think that's him.
So is that enough that you all are going to move off to the North Market and try to find this bookseller?
Before we go, I would like to interrogate them further. So, like, after like all the like serious informational conversation is done with, Jinx will hit them with the random awkward questions. Uh, one of you a clone or a mirror image? Are you two different people or?
Is a clone different? Different? Are you two different people? People?
No, I don't know. I'm asking you. I'm curious. I don't really know how it works, but I've heard of things like clones. I think I've seen a mirror image here or there. Do you mind if I touch you? And Jinx will like start to reach out to touch one of them.
Well, they feel real enough.
Interesting, interesting. Okay, well, yeah, that's it. I don't want to waste any time. We've got some stuff to do. Got to make sure Neffy's all right. Just out of curiosity, though, do y'all just like hang out here all the time, or is there some kind of service or something that you're providing, or some kind of skills or anything that we could potentially need from you in the future?
Roll a persuasion.
It's a 15.
Sometimes magic goes wrong. Goes wrong. Were we to provide a service, perhaps it's to be multiple places at once. They both take a drink. Like one starts to like pick up the glass. Moments later, the other one does. As one like kind of finishes like drinking, sets down the glass. Moments later, the other one finished drinking, sets down the glass.
Jinx, like, for sure, confused. Just like, all right, well, good I'd ask. Appreciate that. And maybe. But yeah, that was pretty much it. I just wanted to see like kind of a little bit more about them. I feel like we underexplore our NPCs.
Feel like you underexplore, you could ask them their name.
Oh, didn't we go through all that already? Yeah, I would definitely have introduced myself for sure. And what was just out of for the books, for the records, what's your name? Uh, name or names?
Oh, Waylon. Waylon. Uh, Panashad. Waylon Panashad. They only give you the one name.
Well,
Oh no, go ahead, buddy.
I'm Dalton. Pleased to meet you both. Like I say, very uncertainly. But he did explain, I guess, the two places at once. It does seem like it could be a neat trick. But and then I'll just kind of shake his head and decide not to ask any further questions at the moment.
He's like Jinx is like fighting to keep his mouth shut. He can't wait to get away from here so he can ask what the hell is going on.
So he eventually like you have one of them like kind of look towards you, and the other one like looks towards you moments later, and you just hear, "The pleasure is ours." But otherwise, you guys can leave Danbury's and head off to the North Market. I still can't find the specific note from when you picked up that book. But yes, all intentions are to point Dalton back towards that information broker.
Yeah, so once they're like outside, Dalton's gonna he'll look to Jinx and he'll look to Gale and kind of turn to Gale and you saw two of them too, right?
Gale will look at you and just go, "No, what are you talking about?" Just start gaslighting you.
Maybe I shouldn't have any more of that. Maybe I shouldn't have. Like he's
Dalton,
completely buying what Gale is selling here.
Dalton, he's just messing with you. There's two of them, but what the hell was he talking about when magic goes wrong? Like, he tried to clone himself, and that's what happens if it doesn't work? Like, some kind of malfunction? And I don't think either one of them was working correctly. So, is that a threat?
Don't think it threatened us. I think he just told it as it is.
Oh, no,
Like,
no, I didn't mean like threatening us. I meant like, is that like a threat? Like, you're like, oh, I'm going to clone myself, so there's two of me. And then, like, oh, shit, didn't quite work out right. And then you're just stuck like that forever?
I mean, do you have any immediate plans of cloning yourself?
I mean, you never know. What, you never thought about cloning yourself? Never, not even once.
I mean, cases where I think that would be an advantage. Yeah,
Not me. I'm enough me for me.
Whatever, Dalton, you would totally clone yourself. Who wouldn't want to have two of themselves? I mean, think about it. All the good you do, twice as much. All the ass kicking, all the fame, the fortune, the girls, whatever it is, twice as much. And what if you had three?
I feel like the downside would be you might get annoyed with yourself unless you feel like you're really narcissistic, I guess.
Well, thank you. I've never been called narcissistic before. Appreciate that, Gail. You could tell by like Jinx's like legitimate appreciation that he doesn't know what that means.
Ah, you're welcome, Jinx. You're welcome.
Yeah, but what if the other you went wrong somehow? That's what I'd be afraid of.
I mean, isn't that what they meant when he said something goes wrong?
I mean, that could be it, but what if you make a clone and they have all your memories, you have all their memories, and who do you know who's the clone and who's the real one? Oh, well, I guess both of them is the real one, but what's the first one?
You know, the weird thing about if you clone yourself is that you'd only really be the same right up until the moment that you made the clone. And then all your experiences will be different between you and the clone from that point on. So like think even like a couple days out, weeks, months, years into the future, you'd be two completely different people, even though you were the same. Crazy.
Huh. Yeah, that's maybe better pondered for philosophers later, but maybe we should get going?
Oh yeah, I just kind of figured we were like this was like our random fireside chat on the walk.
Oh, okay. I thought you like stopped us just like right outside Danbury's.
Let me have you all roll a d12 here.
12.
Bum 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 bum.
Everybody roll a random number, not ones.
Oh, that bum was Jinx's way of telling you he rolled a 1.
Oh
Oh,
yeah, my
Jinx did?
bad. My
Okay.
bad.
I rolled a 5, so you just got the 1-1.
Alrighty. On your way through the temple district, while you guys are kind of moving from like Midtown up through toward the North Market, you're going to find yourselves approached by some priests. Um, so while you're kind of like moving up the street of a million gods, after a moment you see one priest who kind of seems to like latch his eyes onto you. And after a moment he kind of like yells to the north, "I see them here! Come, quick!" And as he kind of like hollers like in this direction up to the north of you, he kind of like turns his head to the south of you, and you basically start to recognize as there's like four priests on any of the kind of like main roads away from what you're like kind of walking on. But he's basically on like Sunrise Street. There's a woman north of you on Street of a Million Gods, and then he's yelling to another priest who's on the like southwest side of Sunrise, and then to another priest that's on the south side of Street of a Million Gods. And he's basically spotted you guys as you're like crossing that intersection of those two big roads. And you kind of have this moment where they kind of like yell, and you have these four priests of Lothian start to like converse and sort of like push in close to you. And you hear as they kind of like say, getting close to you, We've been searching for you for some time now. We knew it was likely that we would see you at some point. Please come with us." And they start to push you up Sunrise Street to the northeast.
Now might not be the best time, gentlemen. What what do y'all need?
There's no time to delay. Please come with us.
Are they wearing like the typical? I don't know if there's like a like typical clerical priestly garb that like.
You could all make religion checks. I think with a 14, somebody had rolled a 14 at least. You guys can recognize these are indeed Lothianites.
Dalton's gonna kind of look towards Jinx, and we know where to find Lathis. Maybe we should see what these fellows want. Sounds urgent.
Sure. Nothing bad's gonna happen. Let's just go with the random priest that won't tell us why they need our help. All right. Like Jinx does as usual.
That's starting. Yeah,
You just hear from like one of the ones who was like coming from the south, like sort of like moving a little bit slower than the others, kind of fully hooded, You hear just a female voice kind of say, "Words not fit for public conversation. Please follow us. You're in no greater danger with us than you are now. Everything should be fine. Please, just follow."
That's exactly what I would say to somebody if they were in danger. All right, let's go.
As they kind of like gather you up and start to like push you forward, and you guys continue up Sunrise Street, you'll notice that there's like a large bald man who is kind of like sitting on a like stone plinth near the first one that you heard yell. And he kind of like almost stands up, and he stands almost 6 feet tall, uh, bald, stark shave head, as if he shaves his head like every single morning. It is like waxy, shiny with the shining sun. He kind of like stands up carrying a large, like steel tipped, double sided like staff, like a bow staff. And he kind of like stands up behind the others. These are the ones, I assume? And all is in order? Yes, yes, we're ready. Please come, follow us. Come on. And they are going to lead you towards, it is 156 on this map. You're basically going to follow Sunrise Street until you get between those two large pools, like a retaining pools of water, and you'll kind of turn up the greenway, and you are essentially facing towards a massive Gothic cathedral. And this is the quintessential Temple of Lothian. This is the largest temple. This is Saint Valian's Cathedral. And it is effectively, again, like the quintessential Lothian temple. It has the same sort of four angular places of worship. So you guys kind of approaching it like this have a solid sense of noticing, like as you walk up, you're walking towards where most people would worship. On the right side of the central area, you probably have like priestly quarters. On the left side, you probably have some sort of like storage. And on the rear side is like sort of the Holy of Holies, or effectively where, generally speaking, only priests of the order would attend or would go to. But as you guys are approaching this long greenway, I think that greenway is probably a solid like 200, 300 feet walk, like what is that, 150 to 200 meters, kind of like walking between these massive blue pools of water. The whole time, this is again Gothic, where you've got all of the buttresses like holding up the walls, or on like the outside of the building. Everything is like a beautiful white like marble construction. And as you step inside, you just have this beautiful white interior. There are long draping blue, not necessarily like silk, but definitely kind of like smooth, extremely soft kind of tapestries that kind of like drape this blue across the white of this building. And all of them are inlaid with like golden, like crowns of sunlight, basically. So you kind of have this like symbol of Lothian kind of like just draped everywhere inside. Long 60 or 70 foot long, just blue tapestries. And usually the central beam of gold just kind of comes down the entire tapestry itself. Um, Kind of walking in, one of the first things that will kind of happen as you approach the kind of entryway is you'll see as a few like knights in full armor kind of like step forward, and they look to all of the priests and they say, "Your guests must give up their weapons before proceeding. Please relinquish any armor and any weaponry you possess. Your safety within the halls of Lothian is guaranteed by the Order of the Dawn. And as they say, like, Order of the Dawn, you just hear like all 8 of these soldiers, like 2 of them are visibly like approaching you, but you hear like the 8 of these soldiers who were like lining this entry hall all kind of like stomp their feet to attention, like at the same moment where he says Order of the Dawn.
You
Please,
want us to
please.
just like pile it up here on the floor, or do we get like a locker to put everything in? How's this work?
uh, to the knights, you need a locker? How many weapons do you have?
Well, I mean, I don't know. Depends on your definition of a weapon. And like Jinx just starts like taking out. He has so many weapons.
The person like holds out a hand, and then like you like fill up that hand like immediately, and they're like clueless as to the fact that they might need their second hand. One of the knights like reaches out. But what is it? You've got 2 boomerangs, 2 guns.
Yeah, and then I have my staff. Um, I think that's. Do we? Is there like a strip search or like what is your definition of a weapon? Just out of curiosity.
You see as the bald individual, like with the like steel lined bow staff, kind of like steps forward, and I hardly would call a staff a weapon. You can't win battles with wood alone.
All right. Well, what about this? And he pulls out like a crowbar next. Like weapon, not a weapon. Can I just leave all my stuff out here? I don't even want to deal with this.
You may certainly leave if you would like your backpack. So does
Yeah,
everybody check
I'll
their
like
weapons?
relinquish.
Gale would like quarterstaff is what he has, and he's like, well, if you want this, sure.
And Dalton will start taking off his weapons. He'll kind of warn, like as he's handing over the longsword. He's like, careful there. That one's real sharp. Kind of remembering what happened when I think it was Kilrescent, sliced himself. So
Knight kind of like looks at you. Of course, a sword is really sharp, as sharp as any other sword.
yes, but that just be careful. I don't know what he'd do. He probably wouldn't immediately go to hand over the wand of fireballs. But if the knights start like kind of looking at it, he would kind of take that off of his belt and a little more reluctantly kind of add it to the pile and his other weapons. And did they say armor as well? I guess he'll start
Armor
shrugging
as well,
out of,
yep.
yeah, he'll start shrugging out of his the studded leather.
Gotcha. So as you're kind of like questioning whether they notice the wand, I would say it is entirely likely that they do. But as Gale like hands over the quarterstaff, you see as like one of the priests kind of moves forward, and she like pulls off her hood, and she's like a mid-30s or so, and she looks forward towards Gale and says, "I understand that you are a magic user, and we don't intend to hold that against you, but I would ask, this is not a place for the use of magic. if you would pass off your focus or components, whatever you need to cast your spells, it would be most desirable if you were also to leave that with our guardians here. The Order of the Dawn will not be touching your things, but this is a sacred temple for Lothian, and we do not intend any harm to you.
Oh, yeah. About yeah. And he does take out his spell book. Um, it is it's what I use as my focus. Don't know how much you know about mages, but I don't. We don't generally relinquish our spell books if we don't have to.
Perfect if you don't have to, and you have to.
Ah, okay. Yes, please be careful with that. It's very precious to me.
Precious is indeed. We will not harm it at all. If you would like, you can. And she'll like point to like a little like side alcove where one of the knights is like taking Jinx's backpack of a million arms. And she like directs you like, if you would like, you can store it here however you would like. The knights will not be touching it. And then she's like looking over at Dalton with like the wand of fireballs with like a little
Oh, yes, right. Yes, of course.
so sufficiently believing you all to be disarmed and de-armored as well, they will basically walk you back and take you into the rearmost of the rooms of this chapel, where you all will see that they are looking at sort of a table with a miniature version of this entryway into the Bane Warrens, and it seems to be pretty much as you guys remember it. You can see the large hall. You can see basically the structure of this massive like tower that kind of stands in front of the door. You can see a lot of the different um balcony like walkways that kind of like encircle it. It seems like they have a miniature of that entryway into the Bane Warrens on the center of what is a large like marble table in this back area. And they each invite you, please, if you would like to sit, you can seat yourselves as is most desirable. There are five of them, three of you. Um, I think it's viable to notice that there are 11 chairs at the table.
Dalton will take the offer to take a seat and kind of do some math in his head and expecting anyone else then.
We understand from Brother Calrescent that there were six of you as you were able to rescue him from within the Bane Warrens. We recognize you all from his description and were ready to find more of you. But we could not wait once we knew that you were less.
Oh yes, yes. No, our partners, and he'll kind of like little smirk as he says like partners as he thinks back to the whole we're not sidekicks thing. As our partners are enjoying some much needed rest, but we could send for them depending on just what's going on. Speaking of, what is going on?
We were looking to uh, understand more thoroughly what you have come in contact with. The Church of Lothian is troubled deeply by what we have learned from Brother Caresson, and we wanted to we wanted to make sure. And you see is like one of the like larger like figures is like an older male. He kind of like stands up a little bit. We wanted to make sure that you understood that we are thankful by everything that you have done, and we find it most important to congratulate you on your success. But we need to make sure as well that your success does not end here. We are in great need of guaranteeing the entry to the Bane Warrens remains sealed to those who would attempt to open it. What Brother Tobias Thad is trying to say is that the Church of Lothian needs you to return, to find a way and either guarantee no others can find it, or perhaps it would be best to find what you can and turn it over to us so that the church itself can protect the entryway. It is unacceptable for us to simply keep a watch of something in perpetuity.
I mean, I think that's basically what we're looking to do anyway. I mean, y'all got your eyes on it. The Wizards got their eyes on it, and the goal is to seal it up forever. So, right?
You see like the second second male who's like kind of larger than like the older guy. He's a little bit younger, who kind of like interrupted that guy. He kind of like looks back at that is good, but we would require if you could to obtain or go after any object or magic that would be able to gain your entryway. We're understand from Carescent that you have something in mind for an entryway, some sort of procuring your entrance into the Bane Warrens themselves. We need it captured, brought to us, so that we can protect it and keep it from being taken by others who might use it.
We've been meaning to look into that. We did hear a bit here and there about something to that effect.
I mean,
Good.
hang on. Am I missing something here? I thought anybody with a wish spell could get through that thing.
Wish is not something that is easily procured. There are very few in the Empire who are capable of such things, and often you might find. And she like looks over at Gale. I mean no offense to casters. I understand that there is some great danger in using such a spell. And then she like looks back over to Jinx. Oh, we often find that mages are unwilling to use such things for others' gains, for the safety of many. They are selfish and ungodly folk. And like the longer she like continues to speak, the more insulting that she will get, as she basically describes like part of using wish is potentially like breaking your mind kind of situation. So it's one of those things like she's not necessarily compassionate about the fact that wizards can cast it. She's like looks at it as um like narcissistic and selfish that they won't cast it kind of thing. But yeah, she kind of like continues on for a moment before you have like the younger priest kind of interrupt her again. The reasons why some mages won't use wish are neither here nor there. It is not always a sufficient solution for things. We understand that there is an object. We understand that you all understand where this object is, and we would just ask you to bring it to the church so that the church may watch after it. In the meantime, if you would desire to return to that place, I have prepared a spell to help you read and understand the writings of Danar, and we were hoping you would undertake a path there that should further describe any items or clues as to where this item might be, what it might look like. And he kind of like pulls out like a little piece of parchment that's kind of rolled up, and you can see like the same sort of like ultramarine blue little like cord kind of wrapped around the center of the scroll. This should be and he kind of like looks maybe a little bit more towards Gale. This should be something all of you perhaps can cast, but perhaps more than the others yourself. If you can get to the door, you should be able to find out much more information about what we need.
Well, there's no doubt knowing what we're looking for would make it easier to find it, I suppose.
So I think that's kind of what the Lothianites are trying to accomplish. They kind of are looking to get you to return there with this legend lore spell and approach the door and try to learn anything further. Obviously, you guys already have a bit more information from Jevica Nor and could pose things in a different order. But this is how the Church of Lothian is kind of approaching you to attempt to accomplish this.
Yeah, because I think we don't know we know, or we think we know that the object we need is in the vault, in House of Adam's vault, but I don't think we actually know what it is, or what sort of powers it might have, or what kind of dangers it might have. So might make sense to get some more background info. Speaking above game on that.
I feel like with Jevica Nor, you guys understand that whatever the item is specifically, like it is effectively the key to entering the Bane Warrens, is within their vault.
Right, but like we don't know if it's an actual key, is it something else, or yeah. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, I mean, like I said, more information on whatever the key is just better for us.
We were in the middle of something. Looking for a friend of ours. Is this a drop everything and go now sort of thing, or? Uh,
You see as like the younger priest kind of like looks at you, and I wouldn't insist that you drop everything and go now, but I think it is without question, it is of the greatest service to Lothian, the greatest service to the people of Tolus. It's no matter the cost. You go now and learn or find what this object is.
I mean, we can't go now. We go soon, for sure. It'll definitely be at the top of our priority list, but we got to grab our sidekicks. One of them's indisposed. So that's definitely our priority. My priority. Can't speak for that.
Can we just they prefer partners?
Yeah, that's what I meant. Partners. Equal partners.
It's, you've seen how Bob gets when she's pissed. Would you want to piss off Bob?
No, I've seen what happens to things when they piss off Bob, and it is not pretty. I mean, unless you're on our side. Cool. So yeah, top of the list for Lothian. I mean, very near the top of the list.
Yeah, like I said, not to be a selfish wizard and all that, but should do have to look for our partner.
Jinx like laughs a little bit like to himself because he sees what Gail's doing.
The older of the female priests kind of looks to you and says, all choices are made, and sometimes we must live with that which is flawed.
and Dylan's gonna kind of looking towards Jinx and Gale, and sure, if she was here now, Neffy would say she could take care of herself.
I get it, Dalton. She's probably already dead, but I couldn't forgive myself if we didn't at least try.
So the bald man will kind of like stand up from his seat, and he'll like move towards you all to kind of like help you stand. And the order thanks you for what you've done and what you will accomplish. You have nothing else to worry about by staying loyal to your friends. It's best to keep to one's friends and make sure that above all, what matters most to you is those people who matter most to you. Don't fear for a second what choices you decide to make. As long as you all are working together, you'll have somebody with your back up to theirs. And perhaps you'll always know that you can trust in one another. Brother Heth here is not wrong to say we need you, but your friends, you now. I'll kind of like slap you on the back a little bit hard. You can definitely tell this is a pretty strong, uh, older, but not like old man.
Delton will kind of he'll take that and he'll nod and then kind of again look towards Jinx and Gale and right then. I think that settles it. Step one, save Neffy. Step two, save Tolas.
I think that pretty much sums it up. There might be some like A and B kind of like sub steps in there as well, but just while we're here too, um, Lothian's the most powerful god, obviously. I mean, definitely 100%. And I'm
Only. You
of
see
course
his
the
brother
only true
kind
god.
of looks to you and says like only.
The only true God is what I meant to say. And I've heard that there's like open communications, usually one way, but on occasion works both ways. Um, would there possibly be any chance that we could get just a minor, just very, very small demonstration of Lothian's powers in the form of if you could just ask him where Neferndale is for us, maybe? It's probably a long shot, and I know it's a stupid thing to ask, but it would really just be well. And it would speed us on our way too, because then we could immediately do the thing for you as soon as we got her back. So it's really win-win. So actually, it's more in your interest to help us help you, is kind of the thing.
I let's go back to the younger of the priests. I cannot search for your friend without having met her in the past. Um, Rescent had mentioned that you all were familiar with Brother Fabiorthisk. Is Neferndel as well familiar with him?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yep.
We could call on Brother Fabior, or we could have him brought here. You could go to him, but he could probably do this thing for you.
And it'll actually work. Like y'all could really find out where she is.
If she is close enough.
Yeah, I thought it was a long shot. I mean, I was at the plate, figure I might as well pitch. But I mean, if there's a chance we get hit a home run, let's do this thing. Well, I mean, right, guys?
It's worth a try.
So the 4 priests and the monk escort you back to your equipment. You all can re-gear and rearm yourselves. Do you head back towards Midtown and St. Gustav's, where you can find Fisk? Do you head off back towards the North Market and your original quest to find uh Fallon?
We don't necessarily have to deviate from the plan. We could keep that in our back pocket if we want and still go do what we were already kind of doing.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Try to find something like Lavis Fallermeyer.
Yeah, Fallenmeyer was what I was looking for when Fallon came to mind.
Yeah, like depending on what he says to us, like go to Fabio Thisk and see if we can get some information as well.
So you can head on your way and basically continue to make your way into the North Market. Um, let's see. There's not much to say about trying to find somebody in the North Market other than it's a game of chance. I am tempted to say Dalton gives me a roll, and I want to say just kind of oh man, like an intelligence survival, maybe a charisma survival.
All right.
Hey, Dalton, it's probably a stupid idea, but I mean, if it would help, you could always ride high, jump up on my shoulders. I mean, I'm not particularly strong, but I could hold you up there for a minute or two while you see if you can spot him. Could I potentially assist him?
Jinx, you do know how big the North Market is, right?
I mean, you're not gonna walk around on my shoulders all day, but I mean, I could pop you up here and there, your little step stool to stand on. Look, when you come up with as many ideas as I do, they can't all be wins, all right? So some are gonna be great, others are gonna be terrible, and then there's just a whole lot of gray area.
Alrighty. So you guys kind of get to the North Market and you start to search like the area where Dalton like originally met this vendor and first bought that book from. You don't really see him. It's one of those things where you already vaguely know and already kind of fear. The North Market is a district of mobile vendors. Like it's generally food based, but everybody is constantly like moving to the next place. So they're usually not in the same area one day to the next. So you start off as a group searching where Dalton like kind of expects in that immediate area. You then start to split into 3 different parties of each of you individually just trying to roam the streets with the description as Dalton can give you, with the idea that you'll meet every 3 hours, kind of like coming back forth. So like, say like you start in this little spot together where you expect them to be, then each of you kind of goes out a street, crosses over to like, going clockwise, and then comes back down a street. So you're covering these like larger like fan sections, but coming back together, every 2 or 3 hours. And you do this once, twice, starting to have the day kind of wane on you. And you've covered a large section of the North Market. without any kind of like anything availing you. Until eventually, like shortly before everybody kind of gets back together, while you are effectively like expecting to meet back up with the three of you, Dalton. uh, do you guys think of one of you as the quintessential leader of the group right now?
Mm,
Oh
not
yeah, I
really.
would say 100%, right? Without a doubt, there's a leader.
Neffy?
Oh, I was gonna say either Terry or I mean, it's got to be Terry, right? He's the one bossing everybody around. Or I was gonna say Bob, just by the pure muscle factor. Didn't he assert his dominance over us last session?
Oh, I definitely felt that was part of the don't call it sidekicks. Um,
Oh no, I know. I'm
yeah.
just kidding.
I don't think I have a particular one that I'm going to send a message to. So yeah, it really is. You guys kind of like come back together, and eventually you're just going to kind of like give up for the day. Like you've been searching for her for some time, so I'm not necessarily going to put it against you like that you can't like search deep into the night. But effectively, there is some point where exhaustion and negativity kind of sets in, and you're going to give up. And basically, you all basically are going to return to the Goblin Hide, and at some point, returning, you basically find Kalimtas sitting down to a cup of tea with a relatively familiar person, who Dalton will immediately recognize as uh, Falomir, Lavis Falomir. And this is where I'm going to ask, how is everybody on time? Do we want to continue playing? Do you guys have a hard stop? Do you want to go for a half hour? Do you want to go for an hour?
I might have to call it on my end. I still gotta pack and stuff, but I'm leaving kind of early tomorrow morning.
All
If
good.
that's all right with you guys.
Yeah, I mean that's perfectly fine with me. I was just gonna say that I'm gonna have to call it as well, cause yeah, work tomorrow.
So, everybody have a good night. Have a wonderful day at work for Chris. Have an excellent vacation and happy birthday evening for Justin. I'm sure you'll be celebrating your actual birthday with family tomorrow.
Yep.